Chapter 699. While the crowd was still in shock, Mo Qingyun charged towards Lung Yufeng with the scorching flame halberd in his hand. At this moment, Mo Qingyun's attack was much sharper than before. The halberd was aimed at Lung Yufeng's throat. Fiend God Tyrant Body Palm. Facing Mo Qingyun's halberd, Lung Yufeng did not dare to hesitate. He hurriedly struck out with his palm towards the halberd. After Lung Yufeng struck out with his palm glowed brightly and a layer of crystal jade-like scales condensed on it. Kacha! Lung Yufeng's palm was hit by the halberd and immediately let out a crisp sound. Small pieces of scales fell from it. Without the protection of this layer of scales, Lung Yufeng's palm was instantly smashed into pieces by the halberd. My hand! Seeing that his hand was crippled by Mo Qingyun, Lung Yufeng's face was immediately filled with fear. He said in a panic, How is this possible? My Yufeng physique is not something that can be harmed by magic weapons. How could you injure me? Because my scorching flame halberd is a spiritual weapon. Mo Qingyun replied to Lung Yufeng's panicked words with a faint smile. He said with a mocking smile, I wonder how much strength you used in that palm strike. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Lung Yufeng's face immediately twitched and his face turned red. Just now, he was unable to block Mo Qingyun's attack and used the excuse that he did not use his full strength. Now that he was unable to block Mo Qingyun's halberd, could he still use the excuse that he did not use his full strength? Seeing that Lung Yufeng was silent, Mo Qingyun did not want to waste any more words with him. He held the scorching flame halberd and charged towards Lung Yufeng again. What happened next caused everyone to be dumbfounded. Under Mo Qingyun's attack, Lung Yufeng did not have the slightest strength to resist. He was abused like a dead dog. A Heavenly Dipper Sovereign was actually suppressed by someone at the 6th level of the Pill Palace to the point where he couldn't even retaliate. After seeing such a scene, everyone felt that it was unreal. They didn't dare to believe that this was real. This was simply too illogical. Bang! Mo Qingyun swept out with his halberd again, directly blasting Lung Yufeng flying out, seriously injuring him to the point that he could not get up. After sending Lung Yufeng flying with his halberd, Mo Qingyun's hands did not stop moving. With a slight movement, he continued to charge towards Lung Yufeng. Seeing Mo Qingyun charging toward him again, Lung Yufeng immediately revealed a panicked expression. He threatened Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun, you can't kill me. If you dare to kill me, Long Tonrin and the others won't be able to live either. Hearing Lung Yufeng's words, Mo Qingyun smiled indifferently and shrugged. Long Tonrin and the others have schemed against me many times. Do you think I would care about their lives? If you want to kill them, go ahead and kill them. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Lung Yufeng's face suddenly twitched. He didn't know how to refute Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun's words were true. With Long Tianren's various actions in the past, Mo Qingyun indeed had no obligation to save them. Seeing Lung Yufeng's silence, Mo Qingyun's expression turned cold. He said in a cold tone, Since you have nothing to say, then let me send you on your way. After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he raised the scorching halberd and directly stabbed it towards Lung Yufeng's chest. Seeing Mo Qingyun's scorching halberd stabbing towards his chest, Lung Yufeng's body immediately trembled. He immediately begged the skinny old man beside him for help. Senior Yizhong, please save me. Mo Qingyun, you are too arrogant. Hearing Lung Yufeng's cry for help, Yizhong's face immediately darkened. He said unhappily, With me here, you don't have the right to hurt Lung Yufeng. As soon as Yizhong finished speaking, he slammed his palm towards Mo Qingyun to stop Mo Qingyun from killing Lung Yufeng. Yizhong, if you want to kill the young lord, you have to get through me first. Qi Lian had been on guard against Yizhong's attack. When he saw Yizhong's action, he moved his body and met Yizhong's attack head-on. Bang! Then, Qi Lian and Yizhong collided head-on. Their palms collided, and a loud explosion was heard. After Qi Lian and Yizhong collided, both of them were shaken back by the force of the collision. Seeing that Yi Zhong had interfered, Mo Qingyun was not in a hurry to kill Lung Yufeng. He turned to look at Yi Zhong and said coldly, "You are Yi Zhong, the ancestor of the Yi clan?" "That's right." Seeing that Mo Qingyun had recognized his identity, Yi Zhong did not try to hide it. He said with a cold smile, "Mo Qingyun, I know that you have many secrets. However, from today onwards, everything you have will be mine." You don't have the ability to do that." Mo Qingyun curled his lips in disdain and said coldly, "Let me tell you one more thing. I, Mo Qingyun, can bring you back to life and turn you into a real corpse." "You're talking big." Yi Zhong's face darkened when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He said coldly, "Then I'd like to see how you're going to turn me into a real corpse." As soon as Yi Zhong finished speaking, he moved and attacked Mo Qingyun again. "Young master, you retreat first. Let this old servant deal with him." Seeing that Yi Zhong had attacked Mo Qingyun, Qi Lian's face froze, and he said to Mo Qingyun, "No need. Stand down. He can't do anything to me." Mo Qingyun waved his hand indifferently. He then sent a voice transmission to He Xian. "Senior He Xian, kill this person for me." "Okay." He Xian responded to Mo Qingyun's voice transmission and attacked Yi Zhong. Then, a giant black hand suddenly appeared in front of Mo Qingyun and grabbed at Yi Zhong. Under the grasp of the giant hand, Yi Zhong was pinched like a dumb goose by the giant black hand. Divine ability realm expert. When Yi Zhong was caught by He Xian, his face twitched and he panicked. He did not expect that there would be a divine ability realm expert by Mo Qingyun's side. Wow! Yi Zhong's words set off an uproar in the surroundings. Everyone looked at Mo Qingyun in awe. Even in Dark Ice Palace, a divine ability realm expert was at the top of the pyramid. They did not expect that there would be such an expert by Mo Qingyun's side. This news was too shocking. At this moment, the crowd had the same thought. Yi Zhong had kicked an iron plate this time. After a brief moment of panic, Yi Zhong did not dare to hesitate in the slightest. He hurriedly begged Mo Qingyun for mercy. Mo Qingyun, I know my mistake. Please don't kill me. Old man, I plan to kill you later. Since you jumped out in such a hurry, I'll kill you first." Mo Qingyun replied coldly to Yi Zhong's begging. He then told He Xian, "Senior He Xian, kill him." Bang! As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, the crowd saw Yi Zhong's body being crushed into powder. After seeing this scene, everyone trembled and felt a chill run down their backs. Chapter 700. Old ancestor of the Yi family is dead. He was killed by Mo Qingyun. Mo Qingyun is so terrifying. I didn't expect him to have a transcendent realm expert guarding him. It seems that the 8 major factions of Ice Glaze City will be reshuffled soon. Seeing Yi Zhong killed by He Xian in such a powerful manner, the people from the various major families trembled. The impact that this scene brought to them was simply too strong, to the point that they were unable to calm down for a long time. Compared to the shock of the other families, the Xian family, Sha family, and Yi family immediately panicked. Yi Zhong was dead. Mo Qingyun had mercilessly obliterated the pillar of support that the great clans had relied on. If that was the case, the few large families could only wait to be destroyed by Mo Qingyun. Yi Zhong is dead. Lung Yufeng froze on the spot when he saw Yi Zhong being crushed into powder by a giant hand. His expression became numb. He had hoped that Yi Zhong would save him, but he didn't expect Yi Zhong to die faster than him. What an ironic outcome. Mo Qingyun had no intention of letting Lung Yufeng go. He said coldly, "Since no one can save you now, you can join Lung Wuya and the others in hell." As soon as Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he held the scorching flame halberd in his hand and thrust it towards Lung Yufeng's chest. Mo Qingyun, stop. Mo Qingyun, don't. The people from the Xian and Sha families were shocked by Mo Qingyun's actions and shouted at Mo Qingyun. However, Mo Qingyun chose to ignore their words and stabbed the scorching halberd into Lung Yufeng's body without hesitation. Mo Qingyun's halberd pierced through Lung Yufeng's chest, causing a large amount of blood to flow out and dye his clothes red. Mo Qingyun, Lung Yufeng stared at Mo Qingyun with a look of unwillingness on his face when he saw his chest being pierced by the scorching flame halberd. Today was originally his, Lung Yufeng's, great wedding day, but in the end, he was killed by Mo Qingyun. This outcome was too cruel for him. Yufeng, seeing Lung Yufeng being killed by Mo Qingyun's halberd, the expressions of Xian Guofeng and the others immediately turned sinister. He furiously said, Mo Qingyun, you're going too far? If that's the case, I'll bury Long Tianren and the others with Yufeng. Kill Long Tianren and the others immediately. Xian Guofeng had a sinister expression on his face when he said those words to Mo Qingyun. He ordered the guards of the Xian family. Yes, Patriarch. Hearing Xian Guofeng's words, the Xian family's guards nodded and began to attack Long Tianren's group. However, when the Xian family guards attacked Long Tianren and the others, the huge black hand from before appeared again. Boom! 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 The moment the giant black's hand appeared, it released a terrifying aura that crushed down on the Xian family's guards. Facing the oppressive aura of the giant black hand, the Xian family's guards, who were only at the Pill Palace realm, were instantly suppressed to the point where they spat out mouthfuls of blood. Qi Lian, bring Patriarch Long and the others over. Mo Qingyun ordered Qi Lian to save Long Tianren and the others when he saw that He Xian had killed the Xian family's guards. Without Yi Zhong's intervention, Qi Lian's current cultivation was not enough to stop him with just the Xian family, Sha family, and Yi family strength. Very quickly, Long Tianren and the others were dealt with under Qi Lian's attack. Qingyun, thank you so much. Long Tianren and the others arrived in front of Mo Qingyun. Their faces were filled with shame as they awkwardly thanked Mo Qingyun. Thinking back to how they treated Mo Qingyun in the past, and how Mo Qingyun saved them, Long Tianren and the others felt ashamed. No need to thank me. If you want to thank someone, thank Han Yin. Mo Qingyun replied indifferently to Long Tianren and the others' gratitude. He continued, if it wasn't for Han Yin, I definitely wouldn't have saved you. Han Yin, I was wrong. I'm sorry. I almost harmed you. Long Tianren's face was filled with shame when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. Grandfather, Patriarch, you don't have to worry. Han Yin doesn't blame you. Hearing the words of Long Tianren and the others, Long Han Yin calmly waved her hand and replied. Long Tianren and the others immediately felt even more apologetic when they heard Long Han Yin's words. In order to save them, Long Han Yin had willingly sacrificed herself to marry Lung Yufeng. However, they had ignored Long Han Yin for their own selfish desires. In comparison, their actions were far too selfish and despicable. Tianren, what's your cultivation? Long Tianqing frowned as they conversed. He looked at Long Tianren and the others in surprise. Long Tianqing discovered to his shock that there were no ripples of energy on Long Tianren and the others. Sigh. Long Tianren sighed dejectedly when he heard Long Tianqing ask about their cultivation. He smiled bitterly. In order to make it easier for Lung Yufeng to watch over us, he destroyed our dantians. We're all crippled now. The expressions of Mo Qingyun and the others immediately became rather complicated when they heard that. Long Tianren and the others had been so optimistic about Lung Yufeng, but in the end, Lung Yufeng had destroyed their dantians and crippled their cultivations, turning them into cripples. This could be said to be predestined. It was a cycle of karma in the end. It can only be said that they reaped what they sowed. Qingyun, do you have a way to repair the dantians of the Patriarch and the others? Knowing that Long Tianren and the others' dantians had been broken, Long Han Yin revealed a look of anticipation and turned to look at Mo Qingyun. In Long Han Yin's eyes, Mo Qingyun was undoubtedly her last hope. If even Mo Qingyun couldn't help Long Tianren and the others, then no one else could. Hearing Long Han Yin's words, Mo Qingyun's brows furrowed tightly, revealing a trace of difficulty as he said, if family headlong and the rest were only at the true energy boundary, perhaps I could still have a way to save them. But they're all at the Heaven Dipper realm. With my current strength, I am powerless. Long Tianren and the others were disappointed and dejected when they heard Mo Qingyun's answer. After a brief moment of disappointment, Long Tianren sighed and smiled faintly. This is all because of our own doing. We only have ourselves to blame. Being able to keep our lives is already the greatest favor for us. Tianren, you finally understood. Long Tianqing also sighed when he heard Long Tianren's words. He smiled faintly at Long Tianren. This world no longer belongs to us old fellows. It's already belonged to the younger generation. Yeah, Long Tianren couldn't help but sigh when he heard Long Tianqing's words. He unconsciously glanced at Mo Qingyun a few more times. Chapter 701. Qi Lian, from today onwards, I don't want the Xian, Sha, or Yi families to be part of the 8 families of Ice Glaze City. At that moment, as Long Tianren and the others were talking, Mo Qingyun's expression was cold as he spoke to Qi Lian. Yes, young lord. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qi Lian immediately understood what he meant and nodded in response. Then, Qi Lian's expression turned cold. He turned to look at the people around him and said, Everyone, we're going to deal with some personal matters. Please leave this place first so that you won't be caught in the crossfire. Once Qi Lian's words left his mouth, the people from the other families did not dare to stay any longer and tactfully left the Xian family. Qi Lian's words could not be clearer. He was indirectly telling everyone that if they did not leave now, they could not blame others if they were killed by mistake. Although everyone wanted to stay and see how Mo Qingyun and the others would deal with the people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families, they did not dare to take their lives lightly. With the strength that Mo Qingyun had displayed, if he killed them, they would not be able to do anything. Hearing Qi Lian's words, the people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families immediately tensed up. Mo Qingyun was going to make a move on the people from the 3 families. After realizing this, some people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families came out with expressions of luck. They blended into the crowd and tried to sneak away. Seeing the actions of the people from the 3 families, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a cold smile, as if he had predicted their actions. It's not that easy to take advantage of the chaos to escape, Mo Qingyun said coldly. Then, he turned to look at the surroundings and coldly shouted, Mo, son, kill the people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families. Previously, when Mo Qingyun had arrived at the Xian family, he had summoned a group of demons to hide around the Xian family to prevent the people from the 3 families from escaping. Not only that, but Mo Qingyun had also ordered the demons to lock onto the auras of the people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families so that they could be dealt with when the time came. Yes, young lord. Hearing Mo Qingyun's order, a demon who was hiding around the Xian family immediately responded to Mo Qingyun. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Following that, rays of light shot out from the surroundings, aiming at the fleeing Xian, Sha, and Yi families. Facing thousands of Heaven Dipper Realm demons, the people from the 3 clans had no chance of survival and were killed on the spot. Seeing that the people from the 3 clans who were preparing to flee were shot dead, the people from the other clans immediately panicked and ran even faster. Before long, not a single one of the people who came to congratulate Lung Yufeng on his wedding banquet remained. As the people who had come to congratulate them fled for their lives, only the Xian, Sha, and Yi families remained in the Xian family. Qi Lian, don't leave a single one behind. Mo Qingyun swept his cold and indifferent gaze over the members of the 3 clans. Without any hesitation, he immediately opened his mouth and instructed Qi Lian. Yes, young lord. Hearing that, Qi Lian immediately nodded and attacked the people from the Xian, Sha, and Yi families. Following that, a huge picture of hell appeared in the sky above the Xian family, enveloping the entire Xian family. This was Qi Lian's Heaven Dipper picture, the demonic hell dragon picture. Han Yin, let's go. Seeing that Qi Lian had attacked the people from the 3 families, Mo Qingyun did not plan to stay any longer and left the Xian family with Long Han Yin and the others. Old ancestor, bring everyone back to the Meteor Mansion first. I have something to do outside. When they arrived outside the Xian family, Mo Qingyun said to everyone and parted ways with them. Seeing Mo Qingyun's actions, no one said anything. In their hearts, they knew that Mo Qingyun was going to deal with the Xia and Yi families. After that, Long Tianqing led everyone back to the Meteor Mansion. After all, Long Tianren and the others' dantians were destroyed, and their bodies needed time to recuperate. After Mo Qingyun parted ways with the others, he quickly flew towards the Xia family, ready to wipe them out first. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived above the Xia family and coldly glanced at the Xia family below. Senior He Xian, help me wipe out the Xia family. After glancing coldly at the Xia family, Mo Qingyun did not think too much and directly sent a message to He Xian. Okay. Hearing Mo Qingyun's request, He Xian did not think too much and raised his hand to attack the Xia family below. Following which, a huge black palm appeared in the sky above the Xia family. With an irresistible force, it pressed down on the Xia family's mansion. Bang! A loud sound suddenly rang out. Then, the entire Xia family mansion was turned into ruins. All the buildings were blasted into smithereens. At the same time, all the clansmen in the Xia family mansion were killed by the palm, leaving no survivors. The Xia family, one of the 8 great families of Ice Glaze City, was wiped out. After asking He Xian to wipe out the Xia family, Mo Qingyun's figure moved and arrived at the ruins of the Xia family mansion. Walking into the ruins of the Xia family mansion, Mo Qingyun released his soul power to sense the location of the Xia family treasure house. After searching for a while, Mo Qingyun found the Xia family treasure house. Following that, Mo Qingyun began to collect the Xia family's collection. After a while, the Xia family's thousands of years of collection was all in Mo Qingyun's pocket. After doing all this, Mo Qingyun did not continue to stay. His figure moved and left the Xia family mansion, heading towards the Yi family mansion. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived above the Yi family mansion and coldly glanced at the Yi family mansion. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun arrived above the Yi family mansion, Yin Shu and the others happened to walk out of the Yi family mansion. Mo Qingyun, he's not dead. As soon as Yin Shu and the others walked out of the Yi family mansion, they saw Mo Qingyun above the Yi family mansion, and a trace of panic and guilt appeared on their faces. They had no choice. Mo Qingyun had helped them refine the immortal golden pill, but they had schemed against Mo Qingyun. It had to be said that their actions were a little too shameless. There's only one person. However, after a brief moment of panic, Yin Shu and the others saw that Mo Qingyun was alone and revealed a sinister smile. Then, Yin Shu and the others looked at Mo Qingyun with a trace of cunning and greed. In their opinion, now that Mo Qingyun had come to the Yi family mansion alone, it was the best opportunity for them to deal with Mo Qingyun. According to Yi Zhong's speculation, Mo Qingyun had very likely obtained the cave abode of Gu Qi's successor, or even Gu Qi's own cave abode. In that case, the number of treasures Mo Qingyun possessed was innumerable. If the Yi family could obtain Mo Qingyun's treasures, their strength would definitely increase greatly. At the thought of this, Yin Shu and the others could not wait any longer. Chapter 702. Patriarch Yi, how can I not pay a visit to the Yi family when your family has repaid me so well? When Mo Qingyun saw Yin Shu and the others approaching him, he sneered at them and retorted coldly. Ha! It seems that you already know everything about Ice Glaze City, Mr. Mo. Yin Shu was stunned when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. Then he sneered and said, Yi Ruelong, we haven't had the chance to thank Mr. Mo for refining the immortal gold elixir for us. It's rare for him to come to the Yi family today. Why don't you invite him to our residence? When Yin Shu said this, he had a sinister smile on his face. Clearly, he wasn't really inviting Mo Qingyun. His real intention was to bring Mo Qingyun into the Yi family, and then put Mo Qingyun under house arrest in the Yi family. Then, he would slowly dig out the secrets of Mo Qingyun. Yes, Patriarch. Hearing Yin Shu's words, Iruelong didn't dare hesitate in the slightest. He hurriedly raised his hand to Mo Qingyun and said, "Young Master Mo, please." Mo Qingyun smiled brightly when he saw the actions of Yi Shu and the others. "Patriarch Yi, you're really polite. However, there's no need for that." When they heard Mo Qingyun's words, the smiles on Yi Shu and the others' faces became even wider. They said, "Young Master Mo, you'd better be sensible. Don't force us to use force." There was a hint of threat in Yi Shu's words. It seemed that they were going to tear off their mask of hypocrisy. However, Mo Qingyun didn't take Yi Shu and the others' threats to heart. He only felt a strong sense of contempt and disdain for them. "Patriarch Yi, it seems that you didn't really understand what I said just now." Mo Qingyun shook his head mockingly. Then, his expression turned cold. "What I said just now was to tell you that from now on, the Yi family will no longer exist in Ice Glaze City. Mr. Mo, it seems that you refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. In that case, as long as we don't..." Yi Shu and the others' faces darkened when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. They wanted to use force against Mo Qingyun. However, before they could finish their words, they were stunned on the spot and couldn't say anything else. This was because they saw a giant black hand suddenly appear and directly suppress the Yi family's residence. Bang! A loud sound came from the Yi family's residence. Then, Yi Shu and the others saw a powerful storm of energy wreak havoc in the Yi family. Under the influence of this storm, all the buildings in the Yi mansion were instantly smashed into powder, turning into a mess and wreckage. Not only that, but all the members of the Yi family were killed on the spot under the impact of the terrifying storm. Yi Shu and the others trembled when they saw this scene. They were stunned on the spot, and their minds went blank. The Yi family was gone. In just a few breaths, the Yi family had been overbearingly wiped out. At this moment, Yi Shu and the others felt a strong sense of unreality. They couldn't accept such an outcome. The scene at this moment was too different from what they had imagined. Mo Qingyun ignored the shocked expressions of Yi Shu and the others and said indifferently, "In addition, let me tell you one more thing. I have just sent your patriarch, Yi Zhong, on his way." Patriarch Yi Zhong was dead. Yi Shu and the others trembled again when they heard Mo Qingyun's words. They felt a strong sense of grief and indignation. Yi Zhong was the spiritual belief of the Yi family and the hope of the Yi family's rise. Now, he had been killed by Mo Qingyun. This blow was too heavy for the Yi family. Yi Shu and the others felt as if their hearts were being cut by a knife. They felt a strong sense of regret. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have provoked Mo Qingyun and coveted Mo Qingyun. However, there was no medicine for regret in this world. Once something happened, there was no chance for regret. "I've said so much to you. It's time to send you on your way," Mo Qingyun said coldly as he looked at Yi Shu and the others, who were filled with regret, grief, and indignation. Then, he said to He Xian, "Senior He Xian, send them on their way." As soon as Mo Qingyun said that, a giant black hand appeared again and bombarded Yi Shu and the others. Yi Shu's face trembled when he saw the giant black hand attack again. His face was filled with panic. "Mo Qingyun, don't kill me. Give us a chance to redeem ourselves. Mr. Mo, as long as you don't kill us, I'm willing to be your slave and follow you forever." "Mr. Mo," Yi Shu's face was filled with despair as he begged Mo Qingyun for mercy. However, Mo Qingyun ignored their pleas and allowed He Xian to kill Yi Shu and the others. Bang, bang, bang. Under He Xian's powerful attacks, Yi Shu and the others were all blasted apart by He Xian's palm. After letting He Xian kill Yi Shu and the others, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and took their Chinquin bags. Then, Mo Qingyun moved and entered the ruins of the Yi family, preparing to collect the Yi family's treasures. Mo Qingyun had entered the Yi family's treasury before, so he was very familiar with its location. A moment later, Mo Qingyun arrived at the Yi family's treasury with ease and transferred the Yi family's treasures into his Chinquin bag. After he finished doing all of this, Mo Qingyun didn't stay here any longer and he stood up and returned to Meteor Mansion. About 15 minutes later, Mo Qingyun returned to the Meteor Mansion. "Greetings, young lord." "Qingyun, you're back. Young friend Mo, you're finally back." When Mo Qingyun walked into the Meteor Mansion's meeting hall, the people in the hall immediately greeted him. At this moment, in the Meteor Mansion's meeting hall, in addition to the people from Long Tianqing and the Wen family, the people from the Yin family were also sitting there. "Everyone sit." Mo Qingyun nodded to the crowd and spread out his hands, indicating that they should sit down and talk. "Young lord, now that Zhong is not interfering, the Xian family, Sha family, and Yi family are no longer a concern. Do you need us to deal with them?" After Wen Song sat down again, he looked angry and asked Mo Qingyun for instructions. "No need." Hearing Wen Song's words, Mo Qingyun waved his hand with a faint smile and said, "From now on, the Xian, Sha, and Yi families will no longer exist in Ice Glade City." Hiss! As soon as Mo Qingyun said this, everyone was shocked and unconsciously sucked in a breath of cold air. They naturally understood what Mo Qingyun meant. He was saying that the Xian, Sha, and Yi families have been destroyed. In less than an hour, 3 of the 8 families of Ice Glade City have been destroyed by Mo Qingyun. Chapter 703. Mo Qingyun chatted with the crowd for a while before getting up to leave the conference hall. Before leaving, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly, and then he turned around and instructed Wen Song. "Wen Song, I'm worried that there are still some fish that escaped the net from the Xian, Sha, and Yi clans in Ice Glade City. Send someone to deal with them in secret." "Yes, young lord." Wen Song immediately nodded when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He got up and left the conference hall of the Meteor Mansion. At this moment, Qi Lian, who was in charge of exterminating the Xian clan, rushed back and quickly arrived in front of Mo Qingyun. "Young lord, it's done." Qi Lian arrived in front of Mo Qingyun and reported the Xian family situation to him with a solemn expression. Hearing Qi Lian's report, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded with a satisfied expression. After reporting the Xian clan situation to Mo Qingyun, Qi Lian took out a Qinquan pouch and handed it to Mo Qingyun. "Young lord, this is the Xian clan's collection. Please take a look." Seeing this, Mo Qingyun took the Qinquan bag that contained the Xian family's collection from Qi Lian. Qi Lian's expression turned serious when he handed the Qinquan pouch to Mo Qingyun. He asked Mo Qingyun, "Young lord, now that the matter with the 3 clans has been dealt with, Miss Han Yin can cultivate in peace at the Ice Glaze Martial Mansion. When will we return to Flame Capital?" Mo Qingyun pondered for a moment when he heard Qi Lian's words. His expression turned serious as he said, "There's no need to rush back to Flame Capital for now. There's an even more important matter in Ice Glaze City that has yet to be dealt with." Mo Qingyun clearly remembered that the 9 temples had said that the sky-stealing, sun-swapping formation could only seal the spatial tear in the Immortal Cave for a year. Now, more than 9 months had passed. There were only 2 months left before the spatial crack would appear again. When that happened, the zombies and rotting corpses in the underworld path would invade the Tianhun continent once more. They had to find a way to deal with them. More importantly, according to what the 9 temples had said, when the spatial rift opened again, it would become several times larger, to the point where it would become almost unobstructed. At that time, even the silver-armored zombies and gold-armored zombies would be able to come to the Tianhun continent. Once the silver-armored zombies, gold-armored zombies, and Hitorigami arrived on the Heavenly Soul continent, the entire continent would be plunged into misery and suffering. As the saying goes, when the nest is overturned, no egg can remain intact. At that time, it would be difficult for Mo Qingyun to remain unscathed. As a result, Mo Qingyun would never allow the zombies to enter the Tianhun continent through the spatial rift again. "Young lord, are you referring to the spatial rift in the Cave of Immortality?" Qi Lian was a quick-witted person. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, he quickly guessed what Mo Qingyun was thinking. Correct. Mo Qingyun revealed a serious expression when he saw that Qi Lian had guessed his thoughts. He said in a deep voice. Back then, although Zhou Gong sealed the spatial crack, she could only seal it for a year. Mo Qingyun paused. Now that 9 months have passed, it won't be long before the spatial rift reappears. Therefore, we need to find a way to deal with it. So was a young lord who sealed the spatial rift. No wonder the people from the profound ice palace couldn't find the spatial rift after they came. When he heard Mo Qingyun's words, Qi Lian revealed a look of understanding. The questions and doubts in his heart had been answered. 9 months ago, when Mo Qingyun entered the underworld path, the profound ice palace sent a divine tier powerhouse to deal with the zombies. However, when the divine tier powerhouse from the profound ice palace arrived, she failed to find the spatial rift in the cave of immortality. The situation at that time caused everyone in Ice Glaze City to feel a wave of puzzlement and disbelief. Later on, when she failed to find the spatial rift in the cave of immortality, the divine tier powerhouse from the profound ice palace directly returned to the profound ice palace after killing the zombies. As Qi Lian pondered, Mo Qingyun's expression turned serious. He continued, because the 9 temples forcefully sealed the spatial rift before, once the seal fails, the gap will become several times larger. It might allow the silver-armored zombie, gold-armored zombie, and even Hamba to pass through. SSS. Qi Lian's expression immediately turned solemn when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He could not help but gasp. The copper-armored zombie back then possessed the battle prowess of a Heaven Star border cultivator. If it was the silver-armored zombie, wouldn't it possess the battle prowess of a divine tier powerhouse? As for the gold-armored zombie and Hamba, their battle prowess was on par with sovereigns, perhaps even surpassing them. There were only 8 sovereigns on the Tianhun continent right now, and they were all sovereigns. What would they use to stop the zombies' invasion then? Even with Qi Lian's mental fortitude, he couldn't help but panic at the thought of this. At this moment, he truly understood the severity of the situation after the spatial rift seal failed. Young lord, what should we do next? When he thought of the seriousness of the matter, Qi Lian revealed a nervous expression and asked Mo Qingyun, I'll take care of this matter. You go and increase your cultivation for now. Mo Qingyun had an indifferent expression when faced with Qi Lian's words as he gave Qi Lian an order. Yes, this old servant will take his leave. Qi Lian no longer hesitated when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He bowed and left. After Mo Qingyun and Qi Lian parted ways, he immediately sent a message to the 9th temples. 9th temples, with your current strength, can you completely seal the spatial rift in the cave of immortality? Young lord, with this old servant's current strength, I am still unable to completely seal the spatial rift. The 9th temples responded to Mo Qingyun's question with a trace of difficulty in his voice. If this old servant's cultivation recovers to the peak of the manifestation realm, perhaps I have a 30% chance of sealing the spatial rift. A peak manifestation realm cultivation only has a 30% chance. Mo Qingyun was a little disappointed when he heard the 9th temple's reply. His expression turned even more solemn. While Mo Qingyun was worrying, the 9th temple spoke again. However, with this old servant's current strength, if I seal the spatial rift again, I can extend the seal's duration to 10 years. Furthermore, we don't need to enter the netherworld path again. Oh, hearing Zhou Gong's words, Mo Qingyun immediately smiled and said impatiently, if that's the case, then let's not delay any longer. Let's immediately head over and seal the spatial crack again. Young lord, I'm afraid it's still not possible to seal the spatial rift again. The 9th temples immediately spoke up to stop Mo Qingyun, since this old servant previously set up the cosmic reversal formation to seal the spatial rift. If we want to seal the spatial rift again, we have to wait for 3 months before the cosmic reversal formation loses its effect. Chapter 704. Since I still have to wait for 3 months before I can seal the space crack again, I'll use this time to improve my strength. Seeing that he still had to wait for 3 months, Mo Qingyun pondered for a moment, thinking about how to use these 3 months. Then, Mo Qingyun made a simple plan for the direction of his cultivation. Now, among my 9 ultimacies, there are still 4 ultimacies that have not been converted into power. I can convert them into power first. After deciding on the direction of his cultivation, Mo Qingyun did not want to delay any longer and entered Hexian Palace. After entering Hexian Palace, Missouri Qingyun began to convert the ultimacy power into power bit by bit. Then, time passed little by little as Mo Qingyun cultivated. As time passed, Mo Qingyun successfully converted the ultimacy power into power. 15 months later, in the cultivation room of Hexian Palace. At this moment, a dark and cold power was emitted from Mo Qingyun's body. As soon as this power was emitted, it began to erode the plants in the cultivation room, nibbling away at their lives. Then, under the erosion of this power, the plants in the cultivation room began to wither rapidly and eventually turned into a pile of powder. The ultimacy of death has finally been successfully converted into power of death. When the plants turned into powder, Mo Qingyun, who was cultivating in the cultivation room, opened his eyes with joy. It took me 15 months to convert all 4 ultimacies into power of power. The speed is not slow. After sensing his cultivation progress, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly. He was very satisfied with his cultivation speed. After a short moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun calmed his excitement and began to think again. 15 months in Hexian Palace is only equivalent to 1 month in the outside world. In other words, I have 2 months left to cultivate. After thinking about it this way, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and once again entered the state of cultivation to increase the realm of his might and power. Although he didn't need to raise his power force to its peak to increase his cultivation, raising the realm of his power force could still increase his combat strength by a lot. After that, Mo Qingyun summoned the 5-directional pagoda and entered it. He intended to use the 5-directional pagoda to comprehend the might of the 5 elements. The 5 elements world in the 5 directions miniature was of great help in comprehending the power of the 5 elements. It could allow Mo Qingyun to comprehend the power of the 5 elements with half the effort. Then, Mo Qingyun spent the rest of the time in the 5 directions miniature. In the blink of an eye, 20 months had passed. Young Lord, the seal of the immortal cavern space crack has failed. At this moment, Mo Qingyun, who was cultivating in the 5 directions miniature, was awakened by a soul message. The space crack has broken. Hearing the soul message in his mind, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed, and he withdrew from cultivation. I didn't expect the 3 months to be up. Time really flies when cultivating. Mo Qingyun sighed emotionally after retreating from her cultivation. She sensed the benefits of her cultivation. In the past 2 months, I've reached perfection in my fire and wood powers. That's an extremely fast rate of improvement. Feeling a burst of joy in his heart, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately returned to his room. Then, Mo Qingyun opened the door and walked out of the room. As soon as he walked out of the room, Mo Qingyun saw Qi Lian outside the room and asked, "When did the seal of the immortal cavern space crack fail? What's the situation over there now?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Qi Lian's expression became serious, and he replied to Mo Qingyun, "Young Lord, the seal failed an hour ago. The situation over there is still stable. For the time being, only some carrion and iron-armored zombies have appeared. That's good. Let's go to the immortal cavern immediately." Hearing Qi Lian's report, Mo Qingyun's expression relaxed a little. He got up and walked out of the meteor mansion. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and others were heading to the immortal cavern, 3 figures flew over the immortal cavern at an extremely fast speed. These 3 figures all exuded a terrifying and obscure aura, causing others to be unable to help but feel reverence towards them. At this moment, the middle-aged woman among the 3 stopped and looked at the immortal cavern in surprise. "Master, what's wrong?" Seeing the middle-aged woman stop, the young man and girl on the side were puzzled and asked the middle-aged woman. Hearing these 2 people's words, The middle-aged woman's gaze pierced through the sky and looked at the immortal cavern in surprise. I didn't expect there to be a spatial crack here. From the current situation, this spatial crack seems to lead to the underworld. After saying this, the middle-aged woman's expression became more dignified. She said in a deep voice, "The gap in this spatial crack is very large. Even a drought demon can easily pass through it. If it isn't sealed immediately, I'm afraid it won't be long before this small world is destroyed. Master, we're just here on the orders of the Saintess. What does the life and death of the ants in this small world have to do with us?" Hearing the middle-aged woman's words, the young man on the side curled his lips and said indifferently. Hearing the young man's words, the middle-aged woman shook her head and said with a serious expression, "Xianming, you don't know. The Saintess values this small world very much. We can't let it be destroyed. Okay, let's go down and take a look." After explaining to the young man, the middle-aged woman no longer hesitated and her figure flashed to the immortal cavern. "Who are you?" Seeing the middle-aged woman's arrival, the people in the immortal cavern immediately changed their expressions and reprimanded her. Presumptuous. Seeing the actions of the people in the immortal cavern, the young man's face darkened and he reprimanded everyone. At the same time, the young man also threw a punch at everyone, blasting out a destructive fist force. Bang, bang, bang. Then, no matter if it was the Pill Palace realm or the Heaven Dipper realm in the immortal cavern, they were all killed by the young man's punch. Seeing the middle-aged man's actions, the middle-aged woman frowned. She was somewhat dissatisfied with the young man's actions. However, she didn't say anything. Instead, she quickly formed a hand seal and sealed the spatial crack. Then, the spatial crack's gap shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. These lowly ants, to be able to trouble Master to save them, they must have cultivated good luck in their previous lives. Seeing the middle-aged woman's actions, the young man showed a disdainful expression and said disdainfully, "Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh." At this moment, when the young man was speaking disdainfully, a few figures flew over an extremely fast speed. These figures that had arrived were naturally Mo, Qingyun, and the others that had left the Meteor Mansion and rushed over here with extreme speed. Someone is sealing the spatial crack? When Mo, Qingyun, and the others arrived and saw the middle-aged woman's actions, they were shocked. Chapter 705. The strength of these three people is so strong. Mo Qingyun was startled when he sensed the hidden aura coming from the three of them. His expression tensed up. He had a feeling that even with his cultivation in his previous life, he could not be compared to the three people in front of him. These three people are actually from the 1,000 illusions. Why are they here? While Mo Qingyun was shocked, He Xian said a sentence of surprise in his mind. Could it be that the three of them are here because of her? 1,000 illusions from the wasteland continent? Hearing He Xian's words of surprise, Mo Qingyun's expression changed, and he unconsciously said a sentence of surprise. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Chun Hyun Myung and the other two people were shocked and turned to look at Mo Qingyun. "Kid, you're quite knowledgeable to see through our origins." Chun Hyun Myung sneered and looked at Mo Qingyun with interest. As expected, hearing Chun Hyun Myung's words, Mo Qingyun's expression was slightly shocked, and he became even more surprised. Looking at Mo Qingyun with interest, Chun Hyun Myung's expression became cold, and he said in a gloomy tone, "However, since you know our origins, all the more we can't let you live." After Chun Hyun Myung finished speaking, he did not say anything more to Mo Qingyun and directly threw a punch at Mo Qingyun and the others. A fist in the shape of a golden lion's head quickly condensed on Qian Xuanming's fist, and it erupted with a destructive aura. Roar! Once the golden lion's head fist appeared, it let out a shocking roar and opened its mouth to swallow Mo Qingyun and the others. "Little guy, be careful." Seeing Chun Hyun Myung attack Mo Qingyun, He Xian's expression immediately became nervous, and he blocked in front of Mo Qingyun. He Xian's heaven supporting palm. After shielding Mo Qingyun behind him, He Xian did not hesitate at all. He raised his hand and blasted out a palm strike at the golden lion-headed fish shadow. Following He Xian's attack, a huge palm immediately condensed and exploded with a power that could support the heavens and earth. Bang! When a huge black palm and the golden lion's head fist collided, a shocking sound immediately burst out and a surge of energy burst forth. Under the impact of this terrifying force, the black palm was immediately crushed and engulfed by his force storm. Pooh! The palm shadow that was connected to He Xian's mind was destroyed by the storm of power. A trace of blood immediately flowed from the corner of He Xian's mouth. Everyone retreat. However, at this moment, He Xian chose to ignore his own injuries and quickly protected everyone as they retreated. 1,000 illusory shadows. At this moment, when He Xian protected Mo Qingyun and the others as they retreated, the young girl at the side also quickly made her move. Under the young girl's attack, several bewitching figures appeared beside her and blocked the violent energy storm. The energy storm was blocked by the young girl, and the middle-aged woman who was sealing the spatial crack at the side avoided being affected by the energy storm. A moment later, as the energy storm gradually dissipated, everyone's figures were revealed once again. "Hey, you're not dead." Qian Xianming revealed slight surprise when he saw Mo Qingyun and the others standing there unscathed, and then a wisp of coldness flashed through his eyes. He said, "I underestimated all of you. I never expected that all of you would actually be able to resist a single palm strike of mine. However, let me see how many more palm strikes all of you can resist." After Chun Hyun Myung finished speaking, he no longer hesitated and attacked Mo Qingyun and the others again. "Senior He Xian, merge with me." Seeing that Chun Hyun Myung attacked again, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately instructed He Xian. Then, Mo Qingyun summoned his light gate martial soul and used his martial soul superpower, the Gate of Fusion. At the same time, the soul star between Mo Qingyun's eyebrows also appeared and emitted a beautiful light. At this moment, the middle-aged woman who was sealing the spatial crack at the side turned her head and looked at Mo Qingyun and the others. 9-star Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe. Seeing the 9 soul stars on Mo Qingyun's forehead, the middle-aged woman was shocked. She quickly scolded Chun Hyun Myung. "Xian Ming, don't be rude. Stop." At this moment, as the middle-aged woman spoke, she did not hesitate and quickly blocked Chun Hyun Myung's attack. Under the middle-aged woman's attack, Chun Hyun Myung's shocking punch was defeated like a candle in the wind. This middle-aged woman is so strong. Seeing the middle-aged woman's attack, Mo Qingyun's heart trembled. He was shocked by the middle-aged woman's strength. He did not expect that Chun Hyun Myung's strength, which was comparable to a peak sovereign, would not be able to fight back in front of the middle-aged woman. This scene was too unbelievable for Mo Qingyun. However, just as Mo Qingyun was shocked, the middle-aged woman's next action made him even more surprised. 1,000 illusions. Qian Xiu Qiao pays her respects to the prince of the Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe. After blocking Chun Hyun Myung's attack, Qian Xiu Qiao bowed respectfully to Mo Qingyun and apologized. "Xian Ming offended you just now. I hope you can forgive him and not take it to heart." "Prince?" Hearing the middle-aged woman's words, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately froze. He was somewhat puzzled. Judging from Qian Xiu Qiao's actions, she seemed to be wary of Mo Qingyun's identity and was afraid that the power behind Mo Qingyun would take revenge on her. It seems like the Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe is an extremely powerful race on the Wildlands continent. After a brief moment of shock, Mo Qingyun pondered for a moment and understood the reason. He thought to himself, "It seems like Qian Xiu Qiao did this because he was worried that the Heavenly Soul Demon clan would be hunted down by the 1,000 Illusions clan if he injured me. Senior is too polite." Even though he understood Qian Xiu Qiao's thoughts, Mo Qingyun still put on a humble expression and cupped his hands. After all, Qian Xiu Qiao was an existence that surpassed sovereigns. He could not be too rude to her. Qian Xiu Qiao's expression changed when she saw Mo Qingyun's attitude. She asked Mo Qingyun. Prince, may I ask why you have come to the Heavenly Soul Continent? Which Heavenly Soul Demon Tribe expert came with you? This, when Mo Qingyun heard Qian Qiuqiao's words, he revealed a troubled expression. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. You're asking too many questions. Our young lord's goal is important. It's not something you can ask. He Xian's face turned cold when he saw Mo Qingyun's expression. He said unhappily to Qian Qiuqiao, if you don't want to cause trouble for your shadow branch and the entire Qinhuan clan, I advise you not to ask too much. He Xian's clansman. Qian Qiuqiao's expression changed again when she heard He Xian's words. Her respect for Mo Qingyun grew. She hurriedly nodded. I apologize for my impudence, Your Highness. If that's the case, this old one will take her leave. Take care, senior. When Mo Qingyun heard this, he smiled faintly at Mo Qingyun and replied politely. Xin Ming, Xianyin, let's go. Chapter 706. Master, that brat from the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan was just an ant. Why are you so afraid of him? Chun Hyun-myung followed behind Qian Qiuqiao, looking incredibly confused as he asked Qian Qiuqiao. Xian Ming, the reason why you have such thoughts is because you don't understand the Heavenly Soul Demons. Hearing Chun Hyun-myung's words, Qian Qiuqiao's expression became serious. She said in a low voice, the Celestial Soul Demons have a habit. They like to pick out some of the most talented juniors and send them to various small worlds, allowing them to grow independently. The chosen juniors are all people that the Heavenly Soul Demons value greatly. They won't be killed so easily. After saying that, Qian Qiuqiao's expression became even more serious. If you had attacked again, I can guarantee you that the three of us will be the next ones to die. Master, according to what you said, the person that senior brother wanted to kill just now was a selected junior with extraordinary talent. Qin Xianyin was shocked when she heard Qian Qiuqiao's words. She said in shock, doesn't that mean there's an expert from the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan protecting that person? Of course. Qian Qiuqiao nodded solemnly and said, in the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, the 8-star clan is called the Imperial Clan. That little guy has 9 soul stars. He's a peerless genius in the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan. Qian Qiuqiao paused for a moment before continuing. There are only a handful of 9-star bloodlines in the Heavenly Soul Demons. Do you think the Heavenly Soul Demons will allow him to be killed? Master, if that's the case, why didn't I sense any Heavenly Soul Demon Clan experts beside that brat? After hearing Qian Qiuqiao's words, Chun Hyun-myung showed a disapproving expression and asked Qian Qiuqiao. A trace of disappointment appeared on Qian Qiuqiao's face when he heard Chun Hyun-myung's words. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. You can't sense them because their cultivation is much higher than ours. Even Master can't sense them. Qin Xuanyin's face was filled with shock when she heard Qian Qiuqiao's words. She knew very well that her master had already passed the 5 heavenly tribulations and reached the divine transcendent stage. But now, even Qian Qiuqiao was unable to sense his presence. Qin Xianyin was shocked. If that was the case, what kind of terrifying level would the person who was protecting Mo Qingyun in the dark reach? It's better to believe it than not. Upon hearing Chun Hyun-myung's words, Qian Qiuqiao's disappointment in him deepened. All right, we don't have to worry about that person anymore. The most important thing now is to complete the Saintus orders, he said impatiently. After that, Qian Qiuqiao and the other 2 stopped hesitating and quickly flew forward. If Mo Qingyun were present, he would have definitely noticed that Qian Qiuqiao and the others were flying in the direction of the Flame Capital. Young Lord, who were those 3 people just now? Why are their cultivations so terrifying? When Song and the others saw Qian Qiuqiao and the others leaving, they asked Mo Qingyun with lingering fear. Seeing Song and the others asking about Qian Qiuqiao and the others, Mo Qingyun's face turned serious. He said to them, those 3 people are extremely powerful. You can't ask about them. Go and see the situation in the Immortal Cave. Yes, young lord. After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wen Song and the others didn't dare to ask any more questions and immediately walked into the immortal cave. While Wen Song and the others were walking towards the undying cave, He Xian had a solemn expression on his face, and he said to Mo Qingyun in a deep voice, "Little fellow, this old man took Qian Xuanming's palm strike head-on just now, and I suffered serious injuries. I need to go recover immediately." After hearing He Xian's words, Mo Qingyun looked concerned. He quickly said to He Xian, "Senior He Xian, go and recover from your injuries. Leave the rest to me." "Okay." After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, He Xian nodded and said to Mo Qingyun, "My injuries are not light. I'm afraid it will take some time for me to recover. I'm afraid I won't be able to help you in the short term. You have to be careful. Thank you for your concern. Junior will be careful." After hearing He Xian's words, Mo Qingyun looked grateful and quickly replied to He Xian, "Okay." After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, He Xian didn't say anything else and entered He Xian's hall. Just now, looking at Qian Xiu Qiao's actions, she seemed to be sealing the spatial crack. After seeing He Xian enter He Xian's hall, Mo Qingyun looked pensive as he recalled what had just happened. After recalling what had happened, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately walked to the spatial crack and began to inspect it. The spatial crack has really been sealed. After inspecting it, Mo Qingyun was pleasantly surprised. He quickly sent a message to the 9 temples. "Ninth temples, come and inspect the spatial crack seal. See how long it can last." "Yes, young lord." After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, the 9 temples didn't hesitate and moved to Mo Qingyun's side to inspect the spatial crack seal. After inspecting it, the 9 temples became excited and reported to Mo Qingyun, "Young lord, with that person's help, the spatial crack has been completely sealed." "It's been completely sealed?" After hearing the 9 temples' words, Mo Qingyun's face was immediately filled with shock and joy. "If that's the case, I have to thank Qian Xiu Qiao for saving me a lot of trouble." In Mo Qingyun's opinion, Qian Xiu Qiao's actions in sealing the spatial crack had solved one of his worries. He no longer had to worry about the zombie invasion. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was rejoicing, Wen Song and the others walked over with heavy expressions and said, "Young lord, Wen Jinyu and the others have all been killed. Not a single one was left alive." After hearing Wen Song's reply, Mo Qingyun's expression also became heavy. He instructed Wen Song and the others, "Bring their bodies back and give them a proper burial. As for their relatives, give them a generous burial fee." After Mo Qingyun finished speaking, he took out a Chinquan bag and handed it to Wen Song. "There are many origin energy stones in here. When the time comes, distribute them to the relatives who died." "Yes, young lord." After receiving the Chinquan bag from Mo Qingyun, Wen Song immediately nodded and instructed the others to clean up the bodies of Wen Jinyu and the others. Chapter 707. Moments later, Mo Qingyun and the rest returned to the Meteor Mansion and quickly made their way to the conference hall. When Mo Qingyun and the rest entered the conference hall, Long Tiancheng and the rest were sitting there discussing something. "Qingyun, you're back." Long Tiancheng and the rest smiled faintly and greeted Mo Qingyun when they saw Mo Qingyun enter the conference hall. Mo Qingyun nodded in response and found an empty seat in the conference hall to sit down. Long Tiancheng's expression turned serious when he saw Mo Qingyun sit down. He asked Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, how is the situation with the spatial crack in the immortal cave?" "Ancestor need not worry. The hidden danger of the spatial crack in the immortal cave has now been completely resolved." Mo Qingyun replied with a smile when he heard Long Tiancheng ask about the spatial crack. He then said, "Ancestor, now that the matter at Ice Crystal City has been completely resolved, I plan to return to Yin Capital tomorrow. What do you all think?" "Qingyun, you also plan to return to Yin Capital? That's great. We were just discussing this matter earlier." Long Tiancheng was pleasantly surprised when he heard Mo Qingyun's words. He then looked at Long Han Yin and said, "In addition, Han Yin has also decided to return to Yin capital with us now that Lung Yufeng is no longer bothering us. We were just about to discuss this with you earlier. Han Yin is also returning to Yin capital? Mo Qing Yun was somewhat surprised. Some joy surfaced on his face as he looked at Long Han Yin. Long Han Yin blushed when she saw Mo Qing Yun looking at her. She shyly avoided Mo Qing Yun's gaze. Mo Qing Yun chuckled when he saw this. He turned to look at Long Tiansheng and said, "In that case, we will return to Yin capital together tomorrow." "All right. In that case, let's go and prepare first." Everyone no longer hesitated when they heard Mo Qing Yun's words and went to pack their luggage. Mo Qing Yun did not linger any longer when he saw everyone go to pack their luggage. He got up and walked out of the conference hall. The night passed uneventfully. The next day, Mo Qing Yun and the rest gathered in front of Meteor Mansion as the sun had just risen. At this moment, besides Mo Qing Yun's group, the members of the Wen clan had arrived at the Meteor Mansion to send Mo Qing Yun's group off. "Young lord, when will you come back after leaving Ice Glaze City?" Seeing that Mo Qing Yun was about to leave Ice Glaze City, Wen Zhaodi asked Mo Qing Yun with a reluctant expression. "I will return when the time is right." Mo Qing Yun replied with a faint smile when he heard Wen Zhaodi's words. He handed a manual of cultivation methods to Wen Zhaodi and said, "This is a manual of all the cultivation methods of the 5 classic of Confucianism. Take it." "Thank you, young lord." Seeing Mo Qing Yun's actions, Wen Zhaodi glanced at Mo Qing Yun bitterly and took the handwritten copy of the Great Confucian's 5 Classic with a disappointed expression. Wen Zhaodi felt that she had made it so clear, but Mo Qing Yun had not noticed at all. This made her extremely angry. Hee, this idiot. Long Han Yin covered her mouth and chuckled when she saw this scene. She gave Mo Qing Yun a strange look. Long Han Yin smiled faintly and looked at Mo Qing Yun. "Qing Yun, Zhaodi has always been by my side when you were not in Ice Crystal City. Why don't you let her come with us to Flame Capital?" "Come with us to Flame Capital?" Mo Qing Yun was slightly taken aback when he heard Long Han Yin's words. He was somewhat surprised by Long Han Yin's words. However, Mo Qing Yun did not object. He looked at Wen Zhaodi and asked, "Zhaodi, are you willing to come with us?" Wen Zhaodi immediately felt helpless when she heard Mo Qing Yun's words. However, she still happily nodded and said, "Zhaodi is willing." Mo Qing Yun walked over to Wen Song when he saw that Wen Zhaodi was willing to go with them. He took out a manual of the Great Confucian's 5 Classic and handed it to him. "Wen Song, this is the complete manual of the Great Confucian's 5 Classic. As long as you focus on cultivating it, you will have a chance of reaching the transcendent state or even higher." "Thank you, young lord." Wen Song and the rest were immediately moved when they saw Mo Qing Yun handing over the manual. They hurriedly thanked Mo Qing Yun. Mo Qing Yun chatted with Wen Song and the rest for a while before they set off for Flame Capital. On the way, recalling how Lung Yufeng had forced Long Han Yin, Mo Qing Yun made a decision in his heart. He said of the 9 temples, Han Yan's cultivation is too low right now. When I am not by her side, I often worry about her safety. Therefore, I have decided to let you protect her from now on. "Yes, young lord." The 9 temples immediately understood Mo Qing Yun's intentions and agreed without hesitation. After discussing with the 9 temples, Mo Qing Yun's expression turned serious. He said to Long Han Yin, "Han Yin, come with me. I have something to tell you." "Okay." When Long Han Yin heard this, she nodded obediently and followed Mo Qing Yun. A moment later, Long Han Yin followed Mo Qing Yun into a room in the Monster Beast carriage. After entering the room, Mo Qing Yun said to the 9 temples, "9th temples, come out." Then, a white figure flew out from between Mo Qing Yun's brows and turned into a human figure standing beside Mo Qing Yun. When he saw the 9 temples come out, Mo Qing Yun pointed at the 9th temples and introduced him to Long Han Yin. "Han Yin, this is the 9th temples. I will let him stay by your side to protect you in the future." "The 9th temples?" Hearing Mo Qingyun's introduction, Long Hanyun's expression immediately changed. She asked in astonishment, "Qingyun, is there some connection between the Ninth Temples and the Ninth Temple's formation disk?" Hearing Long Hanyun mention the Ninth Temple's formation disk, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and nodded. He explained to Long Hanyun, the Ninth Temple's formation disk is the Ninth Temple's natal artifact. Previously, I was worried about your safety in the glazed ice martial house, so I gave you the Ninth Temple's formation disk to protect yourself. Qingyun, thank you. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Hanyun was immediately moved. She thanked Mo Qingyun and asked worriedly, "Qingyun, you let the Ninth Temple's senior protect me. Who will protect you in the future?" "Mistress, you don't have to worry about this." Hearing Long Hanyun's worried words, the Ninth Temples chuckled and comforted her. Not to mention, the young lord's current strength is no weaker than mine. Moreover, even if someone wants to harm the young lord, there will be others to protect him. If that's the case, then I'm relieved. Hearing the Ninth Temple's words, Long Hanyun's expression relaxed and a sweet smile appeared on her face. Seeing Long Hanyun's relaxed expression, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and instructed her, "Hanyun, take out the Ninth Temple's formation disk and let the Ninth Temples enter the Ninth Temple's formation disk." Okay. Hearing this, Long Hanyun took out the Ninth Temple's formation disk and let the Ninth Temples enter. Chapter 708. Qingyun, I'll take my leave first. After that, Long Hanyun and Mo Qingyun chatted for a while before leaving the room. And, seeing Long Hanyun leave the room, Mo Qingyun nodded his head and did not speak to her anymore. After sending Long Hanyun off, Mo Qingyun frowned and started to think, previously, when I converted the profound into power, my cultivation had already reached the peak of the 6th stage of the Dam Palace. Now I could take advantage of the time I have to return to Yin City to improve my cultivation. As soon as this thought sprouted in his heart, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and his figure flashed into Black Profound Hall. After entering the Heixian Palace, Missouri Qingyun took out a large amount of elemental holy stones and piled them up in the cultivation room. After doing all this, Mo Qingyun began to refine the elemental holy stones around him. Under Mo Qingyun's refinement, streams of elemental energy flowed out from the elemental holy stones and entered Mo Qingyun's body. Once these streams of elemental energy were absorbed into his body, Mo Qingyun began to refine them and strengthen the elemental energy in his body. As Mo Qingyun continued to refine the elemental holy stones, the aura emitted from his body became stronger and stronger. Patter, patter. After an unknown period of time, a series of crisp sounds could be heard coming from the cultivation room. This was the sound of the elemental holy stones exploding when their elemental energy was sucked dry. At this moment, when the elemental holy stones around him were sucked dry of their elemental energy and exploded into a pile of powder, Mo Qingyun opened his eyes. Just a little bit more. It seems like if I want to break through to the 7th stage of the Dam Palace, I will need to refine more elemental holy stones. After sensing his body's condition, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and took out another large pile of elemental holy stones. After taking out a large pile of spirit essence stones, Mo Qingyun once again entered into a state of cultivation, continuing to refine the surrounding spirit essence stones. A few days later, the aura emanating from Mo Qingyun's body finally reached a limit. Condense. Seeing that his capacity for elemental energy had reached a limit, Mo Qingyun started to condense and compress the elemental energy in his body. Just like that, after several hours, Mo Qingyun stopped condensing the origin energy in his body. After several hours of hard work, the degree of condensation of the origin energy in his body had already reached a limit. Break for me. Mo Qingyun suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed with a bright light as he shouted coldly. Following which, he controlled the yuan power in his body and charged towards the barrier. Qi, facing the impact of the vigorous elemental energy, the barrier of the 7th level of the Pill Palace was instantly crushed like a thin piece of paper. As soon as the barrier to his cultivation base was forcefully broken through, Mo Qingyun could clearly feel that his body's capacity to contain origin energy had instantly increased by dozens of times. Seeing this, Mo Qingyun once again took out a large amount of elemental holy stones and prepared to refine them to stabilize the 7th level of the Pill Palace. Buzz, buzz, buzz. However, just as Mo Qingyun took out a large amount of elemental holy stones and prepared to refine them, the Light Gate martial spirit emitted a wave of restlessness. At this moment, the Light Gate martial spirit emitted a wave of activity. Could it be that a new martial spirit ability has appeared? With the previous few experiences, Mo Qingyun felt the wave of activity from the Light Gate martial spirit and naturally had a conditioned reflex. Following which, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and immediately summoned the Light Gate martial spirit to investigate the reason for the wave of activity from the Light Gate martial spirit. Next, a dilapidated stone door that emitted an ancient aura and flashed with a dazzling light appeared before Mo Qingyun. Following the summoning of the Light Gate martial spirit, Mo Qingyun saw a mini version of the Light Gate martial spirit that was like a black hole. Indeed, a new martial spirit ability has appeared. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun's face immediately revealed a look of surprise and excitement. At this moment, just as Mo Qingyun's heart was filled with joy, the mini version of the Light Gate that was like a black hole emitted a shocking devouring power. Under the effect of this devouring power, the elemental energy contained in the surrounding elemental holy stones was immediately extracted. Patter, patter. As the elemental energy was forcefully extracted, the elemental holy stones immediately exploded, emitting a crisp sound. What a shocking devouring power. Feeling the might of the black hole martial spirit ability, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a shocked expression. He was extremely surprised by the new martial spirit ability. However, before Mo Qingyun could become excited, he felt a surge of elemental energy suddenly surging into his body. This surge of elemental energy was extremely pure, without the slightest impurity. Once it entered Mo Qingyun's body, it was easily refined and absorbed by Mo Qingyun. After discovering this, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a look of surprise and said excitedly, "Could it be that this black hole martial spirit ability can devour other things and refine the impurities in them, making it easier to refine and absorb them?" As this thought arose in Mo Qingyun's mind, he could not wait to verify his guess immediately. Following this, Mo Qingyun took out various elixir refining herbs and let the black hole martial spirit ability devour them. Indeed, what happened next was just as Mo Qingyun had guessed. No matter what the black hole martial spirit ability devoured, it would be converted into pure elemental energy and sent into Mo Qingyun's body for him to absorb and refine. Seeing the power of the black hole martial spirit ability, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a look of surprise and said, "With the help of this black hole martial spirit, my cultivation speed will definitely increase to a new level. Since this black hole martial spirit ability has the devouring power and can devour other things to help me cultivate, then let's call it the Devouring Gate." After seeing the effect of the black hole martial spirit ability, Mo Qingyun revealed a bright smile and gave the black hole martial spirit ability a name. Devouring Gate, devour. Following this, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and immediately displayed the martial spirit ability, Devouring Gate, to devour the elemental energy in the surrounding elemental holy stones. Under the crazy devouring of the Devouring Gate, the elemental energy in the surrounding elemental holy stones was immediately sucked dry and transferred into Mo Qingyun's body. With the help of the Devouring Gate, Mo Qingyun's cultivation speed immediately increased significantly. Young lord, we have arrived at Flame City. After an unknown period of time, Qi Lian's soul transmission woke Mo Qingyun up from his cultivation. We have arrived. After exiting from his cultivation, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and started to sense his cultivation. Peak of the 7th level Dan Palace. With the help of the Devouring Gate, my cultivation speed has increased by quite a bit. After sensing his own cultivation, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a look of surprise and said, "It seems like I will be able to break through to the Heaven Star border realm within 3 months." Chapter 709. After leaving the Heixian Palace, Missouri Qingyun opened the door and walked out. "Let's go." When Mo Qingyun walked out of the room, he saw Qi Lian standing at the door and nodded at him. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out of the beast carriage, Long Tiansheng and the others walked over and said, "Qingyun, we have to go back to the Long family first. We won't be going with you." "Qingyun, I'll go back to the family first. I'll look for you at the Tianya mansion later." When Long Tiansheng finished speaking, Long Hanyin smiled sweetly at Mo Qingyun, indicating that she had to go back to the Long family first. All right. Seeing Long Hanyin and the others' plans, Mo Qingyun did not say much. He nodded at them with a faint smile. After that, Mo Qingyun parted ways with Long Hanyin and the others. He brought Qi Lian and the others to the Tianya mansion. 15 minutes later, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived outside the Tianya mansion. "I'm finally back." Looking at the Tianya mansion before him, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and sighed in his heart. After that, Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and walked into the Tianya mansion. However, when Mo Qingyun walked into the Tianya mansion, the scene before him left him dumbfounded. He saw 2 toddlers who were just learning how to walk riding on a ferocious demonic beast. They were swinging on the demonic beast's antennae. At that moment, not only was Mo Qingyun shocked by this scene, but when Zhaodi was also shocked when she saw this scene. This was because she discovered that the ferocious beast before her had reached the divine power realm. A transcendent realm demon beast was actually being ridden by 2 children. This scene was too much of a shock for Zhaodi. Savage beast greets the young lord. At that moment, while Mo Qingyun and the others were shocked, the ferocious-looking beast bowed respectfully to Mo Qingyun. That's right, the beast that was playing with the 2 toddlers was the savage beast that had left Flame City earlier. No need for formalities. Seeing savage beast bow, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and waved his hand at it. He asked in confusion, "Savage beast, who are these 2 children?" In Mo Qingyun's opinion, if it wasn't for the fact that these 2 children were direct descendants of the Mo clan, the savage beast would absolutely not allow them to do this. After all, no matter what, the savage beast was still a transcendent realm expert. Even if the savage beast took care of the people of the Mo clan out of respect for him, it would not allow an ordinary member of the younger generation of the Mo clan to be so rude to it. "Young lord, they are..." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Savage Beast introduced the 2 children to Mo Qingyun. However, before Savage Beast could finish speaking, a beautiful woman in a purple dress walked over and said with a slightly angry tone, "Jiman, Yuyang, you 2 are being naughty again. How many times have I told you not to disturb Senior Savage Beast? Why don't you listen?" This beautiful woman was none other than Mo Qingyun's cousin, Mo Xian. After Mo Xian reprimanded the 2 children, she revealed a look of reverence and apologized to the savage beast beside her. "Senior Savage Beast, Jiman and Yuyang are young and don't know any better. They came to disturb you again. I hope you don't mind." Perhaps because she was worried that Savage Beast would be unhappy, Mo Xian only cared about apologizing to Savage Beast and ignored Mo Qingyun and the others. "Jiman, isn't this 4th uncle's daughter?" Hearing Mo Xian's words, Mo Qingyun frowned and looked at the little girl in surprise. "I didn't expect her to have grown so much in just a few days. But the other little boy, whose child is he?" The moment this thought appeared, Mo Qingyun revealed a curious expression and sized up the little boy beside Jimon. Brat, you're finally back. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun was sizing up the little boy, Mo Xn finally saw Mo Qingyun and the others. Her expression immediately became excited. Hearing how Mo Xin addressed him, Mo Qingyun immediately shook his head with a bitter smile. He hadn't seen Mo Xin for so long, but she hadn't changed at all. However, Mo Qingyun was very happy to see Mo Xin's current actions. From this, it could be seen that Mo Xin didn't feel distant and unfamiliar with him because of his change in status. In Mo Xin's eyes, he was still that cousin who needed to be protected. Sister Mo Xin, how is the Tianyan mansion? Mo Qingyun greeted Mo Xin. With Senior Savage Beast guarding the Tianyan mansion, everything in the Tianyan mansion is very good. Thinking about the Mo family's current situation, Mo Xin revealed a joyful expression. Clearly, she was very satisfied with the current state of the Mo family. That's good. Hearing Mo Xin's words, Mo Qingyun revealed a relieved expression. Then, looking at the two children in Mo Xin's arms, he asked curiously, Sister Mo Xin, Jimon is fourth uncle's daughter. Whose child is this Yuyang? At this moment, Mo Qingyun was very curious about the identity of the little boy, Yuyang. In his opinion, Yuyang was definitely a direct descendant of the Mo family. However, he didn't know whose child he was. Otherwise, Yuyang wouldn't be so close to Mo Xin. Yuyang. Hearing Mo Qingyun ask about Yuyang's identity, Mo Xin's face immediately turned red. It was rare for her to act like a little girl. At this moment, before Mo Xin could introduce Yuyang, Yuyang put on a coquettish expression and said coquettishly to Mo Xin, Mother, I'm hungry. Mother? Hearing how Yuyang addressed Mo Xin, Mo Qingyun was immediately dumbfounded. He almost couldn't believe what he had heard. Yuyang was Mo Xin's child? It had to be said that the scene in front of Mo Qingyun gave him a huge shock. What? This won't do. After all, I'm already in my 20s. Can I have a child? Seeing Mo Qingyun's expression, Mo Xin pretended to be unruly and raised her head. She glared fiercely at Mo Qingyun and slyly said, Qingyun, speaking of which, you're not young anymore. When are you going to marry Miss Hanyan? Speaking of this, Mo Xin pretended to ponder for a moment. Then, she said, That's right. While you weren't in Flame Capital, Zishu often talked about you. Also, Princess Wuyo and Miss Ruoxue often came to Tianyan Mansion to look for you. In my opinion, you should just take them all in. Hearing Mo Xin's words, Mo Qingyun was instantly speechless. He didn't know what to say, marrying so many at once. Mo Qingyun couldn't help but admire Mo Xin. This girl was too open-minded. However, at this moment, without waiting for Mo Qingyun to explain himself, Mo Xin's gaze landed on Wen Zhaodi. She smiled slyly at Mo Qingyun. Qingyun, this girl looks pretty good. I think you should take her in as well. When the time comes, you can give birth to a few more children for third uncle and third aunt. They're very anxious. Hearing Mo Xin's shocking words, Mo Qingyun and the others broke out in cold sweat. They were quite shocked by Mo Xin's words. Chapter 710. While Mo Qingyun and Long Feiyue were talking, Mo Hongtian and the rest who knew that Mo Qingyun had returned all came over. Grandfather, father, mother, uncle. Seeing Mo Hongtian and the rest approaching him, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and greeted them. It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Seeing Mo Qingyun in front of him, Mo Hongtian nodded with a happy smile on his old face. Don't stand here. Let's go in and have a seat. Looking at the people standing in front of him, Mo Feiping greeted them and turned to Long Yuqian. Yuqian, go and tell the kitchen to prepare more food and wine. We'll hold a banquet to welcome Qingyun back. Yes, father-in-law. Hearing Mo Feiping's words, Long Yuqian nodded respectfully in response. Father-in-law? Hearing how Long Yuqian addressed Mo Feiping, Mo Qingyun was shocked. He turned to look at Mo Xin and said, Sister Mo Xin, is Yu Yan your and cousin Yuqian's child? Yes. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Xin showed a shy expression and nodded at Mo Qingyun. This, seeing Mo Xin nod in acknowledgement, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a bitter smile. He was shocked by this scene. He did not expect that Long Yutian and Mo Xin would fall in love with each other, and that their relationship would develop so quickly. Hee. Cousin Qingyun, are you surprised? Seeing Mo Qingyun's surprised expression, Long Yutian smiled proudly and walked to Mo Qingyun. Cousin Qingyun, you've taken away the number one beauty of the Long family. As the future successor of the Long family, I naturally have to take away a beauty from the Mo family. Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Qingyun was speechless. He did not know how to reply. This guy's Luo Ji way of thinking was really hard to accept. However, if one thought about it carefully, there were no flaws. It was very reasonable. Long Yuqian, according to what you said, you married me just to save face for the Long family. Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Xin pretended to be displeased and glared at him as she spoke in dissatisfaction. I drank too much with fourth uncle yesterday. My head is still groggy now. After hearing Mo Xion's words, Long slapped his forehead and pretended to be groggy. Cousin Qingyun, what did I say just now? You didn't remember it, right? Long Yuqian winked at Mo Qingyun and said, even if you remember it, you can't take it seriously. I'm still drunk, and everything I said just now is nonsense. You can't take it seriously. Mo Qingyun nodded and said, even if you remember it, you can't take it seriously. Seeing Long Yutian's actions, Mo Qingyun immediately shook his head and smiled bitterly. He sighed inwardly. This guy was getting more and more unrestrained. At this moment, Mo Xian also showed a helpless expression when she saw Long Yutian's actions. She said to Long Yutian, all right, hurry up and tell the kitchen to prepare the dishes. We don't want to delay the welcoming dinner for Qingyun. Haha, that's true. Long Yutian nodded when he heard that. Then, he turned to look at Mo Qingyun and smiled faintly. Cousin Qingyun, I'll go and tell the kitchen to prepare the dishes first. We'll drink and chat later. After Long Yutian finished speaking, he patted Mo Qingyun's shoulder and quickly walked to the Tianyan Mansion's kitchen. Mo Qingyun shook his head helplessly when he saw Long Yutian's actions. He led everyone to the Tianyan Mansion's discussion hall. As Mo Qingyun walked into the conference hall, everyone began to ask him about his situation these past few days. Apart from that, they also asked about Mo Qingyun's situation. They also chatted with Mo Qingyun about family matters. Of course, most of the family matters were about Mo Qingyun's marriage. They asked when Mo Qingyun would marry Long Hanyan. Qingyun, you and Han Yin have been through so much. It's not easy for you to reach this stage. Long Rulin sighed emotionally when she looked at Mo Qingyun. She advised Mo Qingyun, in my opinion, we should choose an auspicious date as soon as possible so that you can marry Han Yin. Right after Long Rulin's words, Mo Feiyu's face was filled with anticipation. He asked Mo Qingyun, 3 days later is a rare, auspicious date. Why don't we set it 3 days later? I think that's a good idea. Of course, it's better to do it as soon as possible. That's right. In that case, it won't be long before third brother and third sister-in-law can have grandchildren. Mo Hongtian and the others smiled faintly. They agreed with Mo Feiyu's suggestion. Seeing everyone's reaction, Mo Qingyun's face was filled with helplessness. He shook his head and smiled bitterly. In that case, I'll follow father and mother's wishes. At that moment, although Mo Qingyun was surprised by Long Rulin and the other suggestion, he did not object too much. After all, he and Long Hanyan had gone through so many difficulties to reach this stage. It was naturally best if they could be together as soon as possible. In that case, I'll discuss it with Sky City's patriarch tomorrow. Seeing that Mo Qingyun had agreed to her suggestion, Long Rulin's face was filled with joy. She could not wait any longer. Next, everyone chatted as they waited for the dishes to be served. The Tianyan Mansion chefs were very efficient. After a few hours, the dishes were served one after another. After the dishes were served, Mo Qingyun and the others could not help but chat and drink merrily. After a few hours, after 3 rounds of drinks, the banquet came to an end. Mo Hongtian and the others left the conference hall. At that moment, Long Yuqian walked up to Mo Qingyun. He smiled faintly and said, "Cousin Qingyun, we haven't seen each other for a long time. Why don't we have a few more drinks at my place?" "Sure." Hearing Long Yutian's suggestion, Mo Qingyun smiled and nodded. He then walked out of the conference hall with Long Yutian. Qi Lian, arrange a place for Zhaodi. After walking out of the conference hall, Mo Qingyun did not forget to instruct Qi Lian to arrange a place for Wen Zhaodi. "Yes, young lord." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qi Lian immediately nodded and brought Wen Zhaodi to rest. After that, Mo Qingyun and Long Yutian left together and headed to the small courtyard where he was staying. "Cousin Yutian, in the time that I wasn't in Flame City, Brother Lu, Zishu, Ruoshu, how are they?" On the way to Long Yutian's residence, Mo Qingyun asked about Lu Fengliang and the others. "Not long after you left Flame City, Brother Lu also left Flame City and went to the prefecture region to train. Ruoshui spent most of her time in seclusion. Princess Wuyu has been managing Wuyu Pavilion wholeheartedly. Zishu has been cultivating in the Pill Hall. She studied the Pill Palace and raised her cultivation at the same time. As for Ling Luo, he has been living a carefree life. He often stays in the various brothels." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Yutian told Mo Qingyun about the recent situation. Chapter 711. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at his residence under Long Yutian's lead. After arriving at his residence, Long Yutian's eyes suddenly lit up. He smiled at Mo Qingyun and said, "Cousin Qingyun, my cultivation base has increased tremendously recently. Why don't we have a spar?" "A spar?" Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Qingyun was slightly stunned. He shook his head and smiled faintly. "Cousin Yutian, we both drank a lot just now. I think we should forget about it." From the moment he saw Long Yutian, Mo Qingyun could sense his cultivation base. He was at the quasi-Pill Palace stage. With Mo Qingyun's Divinity Realm Soul cultivation and the 7th stage of the Pill Palace Realm cultivation, it would be too much of a bully if he were to spar with Long Yutian. However, Long Yutian obviously didn't know what Mo Qingyun was thinking. From Long Yutian's point of view, Mo Qingyun's words were probably an excuse because he was worried that he wouldn't be a match for Long Yutian later on. Thinking of this, Long Yutian revealed a proud smile. He patted Mo Qingyun's shoulder and laughed. "Cousin Qingyun, don't worry. I will control my strength. I will only use 70% of my strength." "Only 70% of his strength?" Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Qingyun was dumbfounded. For a moment, he didn't know how to respond. "Now, let's have a spar." However, seeing that Long Yutian was so insistent, Mo Qingyun didn't continue to refuse. He nodded at Long Yutian and said, "Cousin Yutian, you go first." "Cousin Qingyun, if that's the case, I won't hold back." Seeing that Mo Qingyun wanted him to go first, Long Yutian smiled evilly and directly attacked Mo Qingyun. Dominating heaven and earth splitting palm, Long Yutian blasted out a palm. His palm suddenly exploded with a wave of yellow yuan energy, forming a huge stone palm. Buzz, buzz, buzz as the stone palm condensed, the ground, bricks, and tiles in the courtyard began to shake. An obscure force was extracted and gathered into Long Yutian's stone palm. From the looks of it, Cousin Yutian has already comprehended the earth inheritance of the 5-direction palace. Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly when he saw Long Yutian's reaction. He was surprised. At that moment, Long Yutian arrived before Mo Qingyun with extreme speed and threw a palm strike at Mo Qingyun's chest. In the face of Long Yutian's palm strike, Mo Qingyun's expression remained calm. He did not reveal the slightest emotion. Not only that, but Mo Qingyun didn't even try to dodge Long Yutian's attack, allowing it to land on his body. With Mo Qingyun's current strength at the 7th level of the Pill Palace, even if Long Yutian attacked, he wouldn't be able to cause any harm to Mo Qingyun. Bang! Long Yutian's palm landed on Mo Qingyun's body. Immediately, a muffled sound rang out, followed by a strong rebounding force. Ding, ding, ding. Under the rebounding force, Long Yutian was forced to take a few steps back before he could stabilize his body. On the other hand, Mo Qingyun stood at the same spot as if nothing had happened. Nothing happened. Mo Qingyun had taken a direct hit from his palm, yet he was completely fine. Looking at the scene before him, Long Yutian was dumbfounded. He felt extremely depressed. The scene before his eyes was far beyond his expectations, and he found it difficult to accept for a moment. After a brief moment of shock, Long Yutian immediately understood the reason behind this. Mo Qingyun's cultivation had probably far surpassed his own. After thinking about it, Long Yutian's face was filled with shock. He quickly asked Mo Qingyun, "Cousin Qingyun, your cultivation has broken through to the 3rd level of the Pill Palace?" In Long Yutian's opinion, with his current combat strength, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage even if he fought against a 1st-level Pill Palace expert. Therefore, an ordinary 2nd-level Pill Palace expert wouldn't be able to take his full-powered attack head-on. If that was the case, from Mo Qingyun's performance just now, his cultivation might have reached the 3rd level of the Pill Palace. 3rd level of the Pill Palace? Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Qingyun was slightly stunned. He smiled faintly at Long Yutian and shook his head. Looking at Mo Qingyun's expression, Long Yutian immediately knew that he had guessed wrongly. He had underestimated Mo Qingyun's true cultivation. Shortly after, Long Yutian revealed a nervous expression. He asked Mo Qingyun again, "If you're not at the 3rd level of the Pill Palace, could it be that your cultivation has already entered the middle level of the Pill Palace?" At this moment, Long Yutian was shocked by his own guess. The difficulty of advancing a level in the Pill Palace realm was much higher than the Yuandan realm. Looking at Long Yutian's reaction, Mo Qingyun helplessly shook his head. He didn't want Long Yutian to continue guessing. He smiled faintly and said, "On the way back to Yin Capital, I was lucky enough to break through to the 7th level of the Pill Palace." Lucky enough to break through to the 7th level of the Pill Palace? Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Yutian repeated the sentence. He looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. He was speechless. This news was too hard for him to accept. In less than 2 years, Mo Qingyun's cultivation had advanced by an entire realm. This cultivation speed was too abnormal. Originally, in his opinion, breaking through from the middle level of the Yuandan realm to the Quasi-Pill Palace realm in less than 2 years was already a very fast speed. But now that Mo Qingyun was compared to him, the difference was not small at all. It was really too much of a blow. You beast." Looking at Mo Qingyun in shock for a long time, Long Yutian couldn't help but say something depressed. He bitterly smiled and said, "I should have known. With your abnormal talent, how could your cultivation not be able to break through to the Pill Palace?" Looking at the depressed Long Yutian, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and changed the topic. "Cousin Yutian, let's not be bothered by cultivation. Let's go and have a drink." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Yutian's mood immediately turned for the better. With an excited expression, he said, "Cousin Qingyun, I've recently developed a new wine. I'll go out and let you try it." "Okay." Hearing Long Yutian's words, Mo Qingyun immediately revealed a curious expression and nodded at Long Yutian. Speaking of wine, Mo Qingyun unconsciously thought of Hejilan and Mo Qing. Then, Mo Qingyun sighed his heart and said, "I wonder how senior sister Jilan and senior brother Mo Qing are doing in the Nine Seals sect?" At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was sighing in his heart, Long Yutian revealed a bright smile and brought over a huge wine jar. Following that, Mo Qingyun and the young man drank and talked about the recent events of the past 2 years. "Cousin Qingyun, putting aside cultivation talent, there's one thing you can't compare to me. That's the same. In terms of picking up girls and having children, you're too weak. My child can already walk, and you and Han Yin haven't even married this. Chapter 7:12. The night passed in silence. The next day, when the sun had just risen, Long Rulin and the others headed to the Long family to discuss the marriage between Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyin. In the Long family's conference hall, Ancestor Tiancheng, Ancestor Kanren, Uncle Wanshou, regarding the relationship between Qingyun and Long Hanyin, I'm sure all of you are well aware. Long Rulin did not beat around the bush as she scanned the crowd before her. She directly stated her intentions. Hearing Long Rulin's words, Long Tiancheng and the others were first stunned before revealing a gratified smile. It seemed that they were very supportive of the marriage between Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyin. After pondering for a moment, Long Tiancheng revealed a faint smile as he turned to look at Long Tianren. Tianren, regarding the marriage between Qingyun and Hanyin, what do you all think now? We have always been in the wrong. Now that Qingyun and Hanyin are getting married, we naturally will not oppose it. Long Tianren revealed a somewhat ashamed expression as he heard Long Tiancheng's question and immediately expressed his stance. As for Long Wanshou and the others, they lowered their heads in shame when they heard Long Tiancheng's words. After the matter of Lung Yufeng crippling their cultivation, they completely understood. In the past, the relationship between the Lung family and the Long family was nothing more than to turn the Long family into a vassal of the Lung family, a chess piece that could be abandoned at a crucial moment. Seeing the attitude of Long Tianren and the others, Long Rulin and the others immediately revealed a joyful expression as their hearts were filled with joy. It seemed that Long Tianren no longer had any objections to the marriage between Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyin. If that's the case, let's settle on a specific date for the marriage between Qingyun and Hanyin. 3 days later is the best auspicious date in recent years. Why don't we set it 3 days later? I think it's fine. It's better to do it as soon as possible to avoid any unforeseen events. Next, Long Rulin and the others began to discuss the details of Mo Qingyun's marriage. Since everyone's opinion was the same at this moment, the following discussion went very smoothly. Soon, everyone reached a consensus. After Mo Qingyun's marriage was finalized, the Tianyin Mansion and Long Mansion became busy in the next few days. Long Manor, Long Hanyin's boudoir. Miss Hanyin, now that the Lung family is no longer playing tricks, no one will stop you and the young lord. When Zhaodi helped Long Hanyin put on the phoenix coronet, then she revealed a sweet smile and said some happy words. This should be called, "The road to happiness is strewn with setbacks." Following Wen Zhaodi's words, Ruoshui also revealed a sweet smile. She gave Long Hanyin her blessings. Hanyin, you and Qingyun have gone through so many obstacles. Miss, we would like to bring you to meet a very important person. Please come with us. After sizing up Long Hanyin, Qin Xiao revealed a respectful expression as he made a request to Long Hanyin. Seniors, I don't seem to be familiar with you. As such, I can only apologize for my request. Hearing Qin Xiao's words, Long Hanyin replied coldly. Then, she turned to Yi Wuyo and the other girls and said, "Senior Wuyo, let's go." After Long Hanyin finished speaking, she turned around to walk around Qin Xiao and the other two girls. If that's the case, then I'll have to offend you. Seeing Long Hanyin's actions, Qin Xiao had a troubled expression on his face. He raised his hand to grab Long Hanyin's shoulder. Hanyin, be careful. Seeing Qin Xiao's actions, Wang Zishu became anxious and warned Long Hanyin. At the same time, Wang Zishu did not hesitate and immediately stopped Qin Xiao. At this moment, when Wang Zishu attacked, a strange dim mark flashed on her forehead. This is when Qin Xiao saw the mark on Wang Zishu's forehead, his expression changed. He was even more shocked. However, while Qin Xiao was shocked, he did not hesitate and said, "Since that's the case, you can leave with us." After Qian Xiao said that, he raised his right hand to grab Wang Zishu's shoulder and took Wang Zishu and Long Hanyan away. When Yu Wuyo and the other girls saw that Wang Zishu and Long Hanyan were taken away by Qian Xiao and the others, they became anxious and said, "Oh no, Han Yin and Zishu have been taken away. Let's go back and inform Qing Yin immediately." Chapter 713. After a while, Yu Wuyo and the other ladies returned to Tianin Mansion and found Mo Qingyun in the conference hall. "Qingyun, bad news. Han Yin has been kidnapped." As soon as he found Mo Qingyun in the great meeting hall, Yu Wuyo revealed a nervous expression and explained the situation just now. A middle-aged woman, a cold young man, and a young lady kidnap Han Yin and Zishu. Mo Qingyun frowned when he heard what Yu Wuyo and the others said. He thought to himself, could it be that the people who kidnapped Han Yin and Zishu were Qian Xiao and the others? But why did they kidnap Han Yin and Zishu? At this moment, Mo Qingyun felt a strong sense of bewilderment rise in his heart. Han Yin had been kidnapped? Everyone in the conference hall was shocked when they heard what Yu Wuyo and the other ladies said. Their faces were filled with anxiety. Mo Qingyun was about to marry Long Hanyan. However, at this crucial moment, Long Hanyan had been kidnapped. The current situation was far beyond everyone's expectations. At that moment, Mo Hong Tian and the others' hearts were in a mess. They did not know what to do next. Then, Mo Hong Tian and the others turned to look at Mo Qingyun. They wanted to see what Mo Qingyun would do. "Everyone, don't worry. I have a way to find Han Yin." Mo Qingyun had a solemn expression on his face when he saw everyone looking at him, and he tried to comfort them. Mo Qingyun did not hesitate and asked Yu Wuyo, Senior Wuyo, were Han Yin and Zishu taken? "I'll bring you there now." Yu Wuyo immediately stood up when she heard Mo Qingyun's words. She brought Mo Qingyun to the place where Long Hanyan had been kidnapped. Seeing Yu Wuyo walk out of the hall, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much and hurriedly followed behind Yu Wuyo. However, Mo Qingyun frowned when he saw Mo Hong Tian and the rest. He said to them, "Grandfather, father, it is not appropriate for too many people to go. Qi Lian and I will go." From Mo Qingyun's point of view, if Qian Xiao and the others were the ones who kidnapped Long Hanyan and Qian Xiao, it wouldn't be a good thing if too many people went. If that's the case, we'll wait for your return at the Tianin Mansion. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Hong Tian and the others no longer followed him. They responded to Mo Qingyun. Yes. After giving instructions to Mo Hong Tian and the others, Mo Qingyun, Yu Wuyo, and the other girls went to the place where Long Hanyan and Qianqian were held captive. After a short while, under the lead of Yu Wuyo and the others, Mo Qingyun arrived at the place where Long Hanyan was held captive. After arriving at the place, Mo Qingyun used his soul to sense the location of the 9 temples. It's in that direction. After sensing for a while, Mo Qingyun found out the location of the 9 temples. Then, he said to Yu Wuyo and the other girls, "Senior Sister Wuyo, all of you can go back first. Leave the rest to me." "Yes." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Wuyo didn't insist. She nodded in agreement. She knew very well that with their strength, they wouldn't be of any use even if they followed. Instead, they would become a burden to Mo Qingyun. "Qi Lian, let's go." After parting ways with Yu Wuyo and the other girls, Mo Qingyun instructed Qi Lian and quickly rushed to the 9 temples. While rushing to the 9 temples, Mo Qingyun was still communicating with the 9 temples. It's really them. After communicating with the 9 temples, Mo Qingyun's guess was confirmed. The people who had kidnapped Long Hanyan were Qian Xiao and the others. After knowing that it was Qian Xiao and the others who had kidnapped Long Hanyan and Qianqian, Mo Qingyun was even more puzzled. He thought to himself, Qian Xiao and the others came from the barbaric continent. Logically speaking, they shouldn't know Han Yin and Han Yin. But why did they kidnap Han Yin? Then, Mo Qingyun came to the restaurant where Qian Xiao and the others were staying with a strong sense of puzzlement. Luoyan Restaurant. After looking at the restaurant signboard, Mo Qingyun walked into the restaurant and arrived at the courtyard where Qian Xiu Qiao and the others were staying. After arriving at Qian Xiu Qiao's courtyard, Mo Qingyun didn't waste any time and said loudly, "I am Mo Qingyun, and I am here to pay my respects to the seniors of the Thousand Fantasy Tribe. Please come out and meet us. Qingyun, senior brother, we are here." After Mo Qingyun spoke, Long Hanyin and Wang Zishu's excited voices could be heard from the courtyard. It seemed that they were really here. "It's him." When Long Hanyin and Wang Zishu spoke excitedly, Qian Xiu Qiao and the others who were in the courtyard were shocked. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's sudden arrival. After a short moment of shock, Qian Xiu Qiao and the others walked out of the room and came before Mo Qingyun. When Qian Xiu Qiao saw Mo Qingyun, she was shocked and asked Mo Qingyun, "Prince Qingyun, why are you looking for me?" "Senior, you kidnapped my fiancée. Why do you think I am looking for you?" Mo Qingyun smiled faintly at Qian Xiu Qiao's words. He asked her back, "Senior, isn't it a bit unreasonable for you to kidnap my fiancée like this?" "Prince Qingyun, are you saying that one of the two women in the room is your fiancée?" When Qian Xiu Qiao and the others heard Mo Qingyun's words, they were shocked. They were surprised by Mo Qingyun's words. She didn't expect this to happen. It was too much of coincidence. "That's right." Mo Qingyun nodded and looked at Qian Xiu Qiao seriously. "Senior, Han Yin and the others shouldn't know you. Can you let them go on account of me?" When she heard Mo Qingyun's words, Qian Xiu Qiao's expression also became serious. She said to Mo Qingyun, "Prince Qingyun, I can let Lady Zishu go immediately. However, I cannot let Lady Han Yin go." When she said this, Qian Xiu Qiao's expression became even more serious. She said to Mo Qingyun, "Also, let me remind you, Prince Qingyun, you better not let Lady Zishu go. Don't even think about that Lady Han Yin. Otherwise, even if you're the prince of the Heavenly Soul Demon Clan, you will still be killed." When he heard this, Mo Qingyun's expression became serious. He asked, "Does Senior know something?" "Senior, please enlighten this junior." "Prince Qingyun, please forgive me for not being able to tell you." When she heard Mo Qingyun's words, Qian Xiu Qiao shook her head and rejected Mo Qingyun's request. She then said, "Prince Qingyun, if you want to know Lady Han Yan's identity, you should go back to the Wild Continent and find out for yourself. Go to the Wild Continent." Hearing Qian Xiu Qiao's words, Mo Qingyun frowned. His expression became grave. At this moment, He Xian sent a voice transmission to Mo Qingyun. "Little fella, if this old man's guess is correct, Lady Han Yan's hidden identity isn't simple. It's not something you can casually ask about. For now, you should follow Qian Xiu Qiao's instructions." Chapter 714. "Senior, can I see Han Yin and the others?" Mo Qingyun had a solemn expression on his face as he made this request. However, his tone didn't allow for rejection. Hearing Mo Qingyun's request, Qian Xiu Qiao hesitated for a moment. She raised her hand and said to Mo Qingyun, "Prince Qingyun, this way please." Then, Qian Xiu Qiao turned around and led Mo Qingyun to see Long Han Yin and Wang Yushu. Soon, Mo Qingyun saw Long Han Yin and Wang Zishu in a room in the courtyard. "Qingyun, senior." When the two girls saw Mo Qingyun, they were very excited. They quickly walked up to Mo Qingyun. Looking at the two women in front of him, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of concern and asked with concern, "Are you two okay?" "Yes." The two girls nodded and smiled at Mo Qingyun. They said, "Qingyun, don't worry. Although Senior detained us, she didn't hurt us." Hearing Long Hanyin's words, Mo Qingyun's expression relaxed a little, and his complexion also improved a little. After telling Mo Qingyun about their current situation, Long Hanyin frowned and said, "Qingyun, just now, Senior Qian told me that she wanted to bring me to the Wild Continent to see someone. That person is closely related to me." Then Long Hanyin told Mo Qingyun everything that Qian Xiu Qiao had told her. It seems that Han Yan's hidden identity is not simple. After listening to Long Hanyun's narration, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately froze, and the shock in his heart grew even stronger. After a short moment of shock, Mo Qingyun looked at Qian Xiu Qiao and the others. He said to Long Hanyin, "Hanyin, don't worry. As long as you don't want to go, no one can force you." From Mo Qingyun's point of view, although this matter concerned Long Hanyun's hidden identity, he didn't want to see Long Hanyin being forced. "Qingyun, thank you." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Long Hanyin revealed a moved expression. A trace of struggle flashed in her eyes as she said, "However, I want to know my true identity. Thus, I plan to head to the Wasteland continent with Senior Qian. I hope you won't blame me. Is this your own idea? Or?" Hearing Long Hanyun's words, Mo Qingyun's face darkened. He quickly asked Long Hanyin. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, if this wasn't Long Hanyun's original intention, even if the other party was Qian Xiu Qiao and the others, he wouldn't take a step back. "Qingyun, don't hate Senior Qian. This is my own decision." Seeing Mo Qingyun's expression, Long Hanyin was nervous. She quickly explained to Mo Qingyun. At this moment, hearing Long Hanyun's words, Qian Xiu Qiao's expression became serious. She said to Mo Qingyun, "Prince Qingyun, your cultivation has already reached the high level of the Pill Palace. However, Lady Hanyin's cultivation is only at the high level of the Yuan Dan. If this old one's prediction is correct, the gap between the two of you will only get bigger in the future." After saying this, Qian Xiu Qiao looked at Long Hanyin and said, "At that time, the gap between the two of you will widen. In the future, the two of you will spend less time together. Therefore, this old one thinks that you should let Lady Han Yin follow me to the wild continent. Only there will she be able to increase her cultivation quickly." After hearing Qian Xiu Qiao's words, Long Hanyun's face was filled with anticipation. She said to Mo Qingyun, "Qingyun, Senior Qian is right. Only when our cultivation increases will no one be able to stop us." Hearing Long Hanyun's words, Mo Qingyun didn't say anything else. After all, Long Hanyun's words made sense. If Mo Qingyun forced Long Hanyin to stay by his side, it would seem that he was too selfish. He didn't care about Long Hanyun's thoughts. Seeing Mo Qingyun's silence, Long Hanyin took out the Nine Temples formation disc and smiled at Mo Qingyun. "Qingyun, the Nine Temples are by my side. When you come to the wild continent, you can find me through the Nine Temples." Earlier, Mo Qingyun's conversation with the Nine Temples had not been hidden from Long Hanyin. This was why Long Hanyin had done this. Hearing Long Hanyun's words, Mo Qingyun's expression improved slightly. He agreed with Long Hanyun's plan. As Mo Qingyun and Long Hanyin talked, his expression suddenly changed. He suddenly thought of something. Then, without hesitation, Mo Qingyun took out the picture scroll he had obtained from the auction. After taking out the picture scroll, Mo Qingyun handed it to Long Hanyin and said, "Hanyin, take this picture scroll with you. It might be useful to you in the future." This picture scroll is with you?" Seeing Mo Qingyun take out the picture scroll, Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two were shocked. They were very surprised by the scene before them. They truly did not expect that this painting scroll would be in Mo Qingyun's possession. "You know where this picture scroll came from?" Seeing Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two's reaction, Mo Qingyun immediately guessed that the three of them might know where the picture scroll came from. "That's right. The three of us came here to find this picture scroll." Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two nodded. Their expressions became serious as they said, "However, Prince Qingyun, it's best that you don't ask about the picture scroll's origin for now. For the picture scroll," hearing Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two's words, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately changed. He was very surprised by Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two's words. Following this, Mo Qingyun began to believe Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two's words even more. The person in the picture scroll was exactly the same as Long Hanyin. Qian Xiu Qiao and the other two's purpose was to find this picture scroll. In that case, the person that Qian Shou Qiao and the other twos said to be closely related to Long Han Yin was not a fabrication. Prince Qin Yun, since we found the picture scroll, we plan to return to the Wildlands continent immediately. Qian Shou Qiao and the other two didn't want to stay any longer. After bidding farewell to Mo Qin Yun, they turned to Long Han Yin. Miss Han Yin, all good things must come to an end. Let us bid farewell to Prince Qin Yun here. Long Han Yin immediately revealed a reluctant expression when she heard Qian Shou Qiao's words. She turned to Mo Qin Yun and said, Qin Yun, if you don't come to the Wildlands continent to find me, I'll come to the Tianhun continent and teach you a lesson when I'm strong enough. Don't worry, I'll definitely go to the Wildlands continent to find you. Mo Qin Yun replied seriously to Long Han Yin. He then sent a message to the 9 temples. 9 temples, I'll leave Han Yin to you. Protect her for me. Don't worry, young lord. This old servant will protect the matriarch well. The 9 temples replied solemnly to Mo Qin Yun when they heard Mo Qin Yun's message. Long Han Yin, Qian Shou Qiao, and the other two's figures slowly disappeared from Mo Qin Yun's sight. Let's go. Mo Qin Yun said to Qi Lian and Wang Zishu. He didn't want to stay any longer after Long Han Yin and the others were gone. Chapter 7:15. After 15 minutes, Mo Qin Yun and the other two returned to the Tianyin mansion. However, when Mo Qin Yun walked into the conference hall, the atmosphere in the hall was a little tense. Seeing this, Mo Qin Yun's expression turned solemn. He quickly asked Mo Hong Tian, Grandfather, what happened? Why does everyone look so worried? In Mo Qin Yun's opinion, Mo Hong Tian and the rest should still be aware that Long Han Yin had left with Qian Shou Qiao and the rest. If that was the case, why would Mo Hong Tian and the rest have such a reaction? This scene was just too abnormal. Qin Yin, you're back. Seeing Mo Qin Yun walking towards him, Mo Hong Tian replied listlessly. He then said to Mo Qin Yun in a deep voice, Yu Qian is back. It seems like he has something important to tell you. It seems like something happened to Ling in the mysterious ice palace. He's in your second aunt's room. Hurry up and go take a look. Yu Qian? Hearing Mo Hong Tian's words, Mo Qin Yun's expression immediately tensed up. He was shocked. Ever since Yu Qian brought Mo Qin Yun to the mysterious ice palace, Missouri Qin Yun had not seen him. Now, he had suddenly come to the Tianyin mansion. This news really surprised Mo Qin Yun. After that, Mo Qin Yun no longer hesitated and immediately went to Mo Yueru's room. Qi Lian and Wang Zishu followed closely behind. Zishu came back with Qin Yun. Why don't I see Han Yin? Could it be that Han Yin has returned to the Long family? Seeing that Long Han Yin was not around, Mo Hong Tian's old face was filled with doubt. However, he did not immediately ask. After a short while, Mo Qin Yun and the rest arrived at Mo Yueru's room. At this moment, Mo Yueru's face was filled with sorrow. She was using a wet towel to wipe the blood off the man on the bed. Yu Qian was injured. Seeing this, Mo Qin Yun's heart immediately tightened. A sense of uneasiness rose in his heart. Qin Yun, you're back. As soon as Mo Qin Yun walked into the room, Mo Yueru saw him and said excitedly, Qin Yun, Qian has something important to tell you. Come down quickly. All right. When Mo Qin Yun heard this, he immediately walked in front of Yu Qian and checked his injuries. With one look, Mo Qin Yun's expression relaxed. Although there were many wounds on Yu Qian body, none of them were fatal, so there wasn't much of a problem. My injuries aren't a problem. Seeing that Mo Qin Yun was checking his injuries, Yu Qian waved his hand weakly. He then said to Mo Qin Yun in a deep voice, Mo Qin Yun, Princess Ling is in great trouble now. She wants you to return to the Mystic Ice Palace immediately to help her. Sister Mo Ling is really in trouble. Hearing Yu Qian's words, Mo Qin Yun's expression immediately became serious. The uneasiness in his heart grew stronger. Immediately, Mo Qingyun's expression became nervous. He quickly asked Yu Qian, "Quickly tell me, what kind of trouble is Sister Mo Ling in?" It's like this. A few days ago, Han Yang was appointed as the young sect leader. Then, he asked the sect leader for Princess Mo Ling's hand in marriage. After hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yu Qian no longer hesitated. He immediately explained to Mo Qingyun. The sect leader and the grand elders saw that Han Yang's talent was outstanding. Now that he was appointed as the young sect leader, they thought that he was a good match for Princess Ling. Therefore, the sect leader agreed to Han Yang's request. Han Yang, hearing Yu Qianyi's words, Mo Qingyun's expression immediately became tense. A strong sense of worry rose in his heart as he said, "I actually forgot that he was in the Mystic Ice Palace. He probably wants to take revenge on me by going to Sister Mo Ling." The hatred between him and Han Yang had been formed since the 100 Countries battlefield. Now that Mo Qingyun heard that Han Yang wanted to go to Mo Xin, he naturally thought that Han Yang wanted to take revenge on him. Mo Qingyun didn't believe that Han Yang wanted to go to Han Yang because he admired Mo Ling. In this way, if Han Yang really married Mo Ling, then Mo Ling's fate would be dangerous. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was worried, Yu Qian revealed a serious expression and said, when Princess Ling heard that the sect leader wanted to betroth her to Han Yang, she immediately expressed her opposition to the sect leader. However, the sect leader and the grand elders all thought highly of Han Yang. Therefore, Princess Ling's reluctance was directly ignored. After saying this, Yu Qianyi's expression became even more serious. He said in a heavy tone, what made Princess Ling even more worried was that not long ago, she accidentally overheard Han Yang's conversation. It turns out that Han Yang wanted to marry her to make it easier for him to take charge of the Mystic Ice Palace. Secondly, he wanted to take revenge on Mo Qingyun. As expected, hearing Yu Qianyi's words, Mo Qingyun's heart immediately trembled. The worry in his heart intensified. At this moment, while Mo Qingyun was worried, Yu Qian didn't stop talking and continued. Previously, Princess Ling also sent someone to pass on a message. Unfortunately, the moment those people left the Mystic Ice Palace, they were killed by Han Yang's men. Until half a month ago, when I was on my way to the Mystic Ice Peak, I happened to meet Princess Ling. She then told me. After saying this, Yu Qianyi's face revealed an ashamed expression. He apologized to Mo Qingyun and the others. This is all my fault. If I didn't bring Princess Ling into the Mystic Ice Palace, this wouldn't have happened. You don't have to blame yourself. This matter isn't your fault. Leave the rest to me. Hearing Yu Qianyi's self-blame, Mo Qingyun shook his head and asked, tell me, when is Sister Ling and Han Yang's wedding? There's still half a month before the Mystic Ice Palace's summit battle, which is held once every 5 years. Hence, Princess Ling's wedding has been arranged for a month later. Yu Qianyi's expression was solemn as he replied to Mo Qingyun. He then said, in addition, the winner of each summit battle can make a request to the palace master. Perhaps you can use this to help Princess Ling summit battle? Hearing Yu Qianyi's words, Mo Qingyun immediately had a plan. He thought to himself, there's only half a month left before the summit battle. Looks like I have to go to the Mystic Ice Palace immediately. Grandfather's second aunt, now that Sister Ling is in danger, I have to go to the Mystic Ice Palace immediately. After thinking about this, Mo Qingyun didn't want to delay any longer and immediately told Mo Hongtian and the others. Since Mo Hongtian and the others didn't know that Long Hanyan had already left with Qian Xiu Qiao and the others, they asked, Qingyun, if you go to the Mystic Ice Palace now, what about your marriage with Hanyan? Hearing Mo Hongtian's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and explained, Hanyan has been taken in as a direct disciple by a senior. Now, she's been brought to a secret place to cultivate. My marriage with her will be delayed for now. In order to not let Mo Hongtian and the others worry, Mo Qingyun thought of an excuse and brushed them off about Long Hanyan's departure. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Mo Hong Tian and the others relaxed. They didn't suspect Mo Qingyun's words at all. Seeing that Mo Hong Tian and the others didn't suspect anything, Mo Qingyun said to Qi Lian, "Qi Lian, no outsiders are allowed to enter the Mystic Ice Palace. You will stay in the Tianyin Mansion and protect the Tianyin Mansion for me." "Yes, I will definitely protect the Tianyin Mansion." Chapter 716. Grandpa, here are some elemental spirit stones and elixirs. Distribute them to your clansmen later. Mo Qin Yin took out some cultivation materials and handed them to Mo Hong Tian and the others. He gave them some instructions. After handing over the cultivation materials to Mo Hong Tian, Mo Qin Yin gave some instructions to everyone and then walked out of Mo Yueru's room. After leaving Mo Yueru's room, Mo Qin Yin sent a spiritual message to the savage beast, asking it to go to the Black Ice Palace with him. The savage beast was Mo Qin Yin's mount. Therefore, it wouldn't attract any attention if it entered the Black Ice Palace with Mo Qin Yin. After a while, Mo Qin Yin saw the savage beast lying at the entrance of the Tianyin Mansion. "Let's go." After arriving in front of the savage beast, Mo Qin Yin jumped onto the savage beast's back and asked it to carry him to the Black Ice Palace. After instructing the savage beast, Mo Qin Yun summoned his incarnation and asked it to guide the savage beast to the Black Ice Palace. After instructing everything, Mo Qin Yun's figure moved and entered the Five-Direction Palace. Once he entered the Five-Direction Palace, a very pure five elements energy wrapped around Mo Qin Yun. Devouring Gate. Sensing the five elements energy around him, Mo Qin Yun didn't hesitate and immediately used the martial soul super ability, Devouring Gate. Not long ago, Mo Qin Yun was shocked to discover that the Devouring Gate had a powerful ability. Other than being able to devour origin energy and soul power, the Devouring Gate could also devour ultimacy, power, and other powers. This discovery really shocked Mo Qin Yun. After discovering the Devouring Gate's ability, Mo Qin Yun's speed of comprehending Intent Realm had undergone an earth-shattering change. Now that he had comprehended Intent Realm, he only needed to let the Devouring Gate devour Intent Realm power and transfer it into his body to slowly comprehend it. After discovering this ability of the Devouring Gate, Mo Qin Yun was very happy. In this way, his cultivation speed would be multiplied, and the time it took for his cultivation to recover to the Exalt stage would be greatly reduced. It would allow him to take revenge on Li He, Yi Fei Yang, and the others earlier, and it would also allow him to head to the Wild Continent earlier. Under the devouring of the Gate of Devouring, the power of the five elements contained in the five directional pagodas was immediately devoured by the Gate of Devouring. However, Mo Qin Yun did not allow the Gate of Devouring to devour all five powers within the five directional pagodas. Instead, it only devoured the power of fire. As the power of fire in the five directional towers was devoured, it was immediately transferred to Mo Qin Yun's body, allowing Mo Qin Yun to comprehend it. With the help of the Devouring Gate, Mo Qin Yun's comprehension of the power of fire immediately reached an unprecedented speed. Following that, a shocking flame energy emanated from Mo Qin Yun's body, causing people to unconsciously feel fear in their hearts. This was the power of fire. As time passed, the power of fire in Mo Qin Yun's body became more and more powerful. The power of fire has reached perfection. After an unknown period of time, Mo Qin Yun opened his eyes with joy and said excitedly, "If that's the case, it's time to cultivate another power." After pondering for a while, Mo Qin Yun finally chose the power of water. In his opinion, the fusion of the power of water and fire would be more powerful. Next, time passed bit by bit as Mo Qin Yun cultivated. Original body. We've arrived at the mysterious Ice Palace. After an unknown period of time, the incarnation's soul transmission woke Mo Qin Yun up from his cultivation. We've arrived at the mysterious Ice Palace. After receiving the soul transmission from the incarnation, Mo Qingyun revealed a surprised expression and stopped cultivating. The power of fire has reached perfection, and the power of water has reached the 8th level. The progress isn't too slow. Sensing the power of fire and water, Mo Qingyun's face revealed a surprised expression as he thought to himself, with the help of the devouring gate, the cultivation speed of the power of fire has indeed increased. Otherwise, it would take me at least a month to reach perfection. Other than that, what surprised Mo Qingyun was that his cultivation had reached the peak of the mid-7th level of the Dan Palace. To him, this was an unexpected gain. After a moment of surprise, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and left the 5-directional small pagoda. After leaving the 5-directional small pagoda, Mo Qingyun kept his incarnation in Heixian's palace, allowing him to raise his cultivation in the Heixian's palace. Savage beast, let's go in. After doing all this, Mo Qingyun instructed Savage Beast to carry him into the mysterious Ice Palace. Arriving at the entrance of the mysterious Ice Palace, Missouri Qingyun showed his identity token and rode Savage Beast into the mysterious Ice Palace. After a while, Mo Qingyun arrived at the Rolling Curtain Peak and headed towards Xianshan's residence. Now that he had returned to the Rolling Curtain Peak, he naturally had to pay a visit to Xianshan. No matter what, Xianshan was his master. Furthermore, he wanted to participate in the summit battle, so he needed Xianshan to appear. After a short while, Mo Qingyun arrived at Xianshan's residence and walked into Xianshan's courtyard. At this moment, Xianshan sat in the courtyard with a lonely expression, as if he was an old man in his twilight years. Master, disciple is back. Seeing Xianshan's expression, Mo Qingyun's expression froze for a moment before he greeted him. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xianshan's body immediately trembled, and he turned to look behind him. Tian-hun, you're back. Seeing Mo Qingyun in front of him, Xianshan immediately became excited and quickly walked in front of Mo Qingyun. Mo Tian-hun was back. The genius disciple that Xianshan had accepted 3 years ago, Mo Tian-hun, had finally returned. In the past year, there had been a rumor in the surrounding peaks that the genius disciple of Rolling Curtain Peak, Mo Qingyun, had died outside. In addition, there were also rumors that Mo Qingyun had offended Babing Peak and was assassinated by the people of Babing Peak. Otherwise, Mo Qingyun would not have disappeared from the Dark Ice Palace after being in the limelight that time. Because of this, Xianshan and the others specially made a trip to Babing Peak to avenge Mo Qingyun. If it were not for the persuasion of the other peaks, Rolling Curtain Peak and Babing Peak would have started a war. Regarding this, Roba and the others were very depressed. They wanted to kill Mo Qingyun, but in the end, they suffered great losses. Disciple was wrong to have made Master worry. Seeing Xianshan's expression, Mo Qingyun was touched and asked Xianshan, Master, Disciple heard that the Battle of the Peaks is about to begin. When will it begin? As Mo Qingyun was concerned about Mo Ling's safety, he did not beat around the bush and directly asked Xianshan. The Battle of the Peaks will be held in 3 days. You came back just in time, just before the Battle of the Peaks. Hearing Mo Qingyun ask about the Battle of the Peaks, Xianshan smiled faintly and said to Mo Qingyun, Observe this Battle of the Peaks well and strive to achieve good results for Rolling Curtain Peak in the next Battle of the Peaks. The next Battle of the Peaks? Hearing Xianshan's words, Mo Qingyun was slightly stunned. He was surprised by Xianshan's words. Chapter 717. Master, what are the requirements for participating in the summit battle? Since he had decided to participate in this year's summit battle, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and asked Xianshan. Originally, if Heixian helped, Mo Qingyun could forcefully take Mo Ling away from the Black Ice Palace. However, considering that Mo Ling was the daughter of Palace Master Ling Kai, Mo Qingyun was worried that if he did that, Mo Ling would be stuck in the middle. Helpless, Mo Qingyun could only settle for the next best thing. He decided to help Mo Ling by participating in the summit battle. I'm really gratified that you have such thoughts. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Xianshan immediately revealed a gratified smile and praised Mo Qingyun. From his point of view, it didn't matter if Mo Qingyun was participating in this year's summit battle or the next one. The fact that he wanted to fight for the Rolling Curtain Peak as soon as he returned to the Rolling Curtain Peak was really commendable. After praising Mo Qingyun, Xianshan's face revealed a hint of emotion and said, "However, the disciples participating in the summit battle are all at the peak of the Dan Palace realm. With your Yuan Dan realm cultivation, you still." At this moment, when Xianshan was speaking, he unconsciously sensed Mo Qingyun's cultivation. After sensing for a while, Xianshan couldn't finish his sentence and looked at Mo Qingyun in shock. 7th level of the Dan Palace realm. Mo Qingyun's cultivation had actually broken through to the 7th level of the Dan Palace realm. This discovery shocked Xianshan quite a bit. In just 3 years, Mo Qingyun's cultivation had actually broken through to the next level. This kind of cultivation speed was really too frightening. Tianhun, your cultivation. Xianshan's face was filled with shock and disbelief. For a moment, he didn't know what to say. In these few years of training, I had a fortuitous encounter, and my cultivation was lucky enough to have some breakthroughs. Hearing Xianshan's words, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and found an excuse. He asked, "Master, can I participate now?" Lucky breakthrough? Hearing Mo Qingyun's answer, Xianshan smiled bitterly. He was extremely depressed in his heart. It wasn't that he had never seen a lucky breakthrough before. However, could a lucky breakthrough allow one to break through to the next realm? The answer was obviously no, unless that person's luck was heaven-defying. However, although he was shocked in his heart, Xianshan still revealed a happy expression and said to Mo Qingyun, "Although your cultivation realm is a little low, with your true strength, you should have hope of obtaining the qualifications to participate. I'll take you to see Ancestor Xianao." Xianshan's face was Luo Ao. Xian Ao Luo was to be remembered to be done. From his point of view, Mo Qingyun's true strength shouldn't be as simple as the 7th stage of the Pill Palace. After a while, Mo Qingyun and Xianshan arrived at Xianao's residence. At this moment, there were many people sitting in Xianao's small courtyard. Other than the elders of the Rolling Curtain Peak, there were 3 other Peak Pill Palace disciples. Looking at Xianao and the others, it seemed that they were discussing the candidates for this year's Battle of the Peak. "Xianshan, you're here? We were just about to send someone to call you." Seeing Xianshan's arrival, Xianao smiled and greeted him. He pointed to the stone stool beside him and said, "Take a seat here first. Then, we'll discuss the candidates for this year's Battle of the Peak in detail." "Ancestor Xianao, you look. Mo Tianhun is back." Mo Tianhun is back, really back. Junior brother Xianshan, when did Tianhun come back? As Mo Qingyun walked into the small courtyard, the elders in the small courtyard revealed shocked and excited expressions. Mo Qingyun was the most talented junior brother in the history of the Rolling Curtain Peak for hundreds of years. Previously, when they heard that Mo Qingyun was killed by Babing Peak, they were very sad in their hearts. Now that they saw Mo Qingyun return in one piece, how could they not be pleasantly surprised? How could they not be excited? Greetings to Ancestor Xianao and the other elders. Looking at the excited crowd in front of him, Mo Qingyun smiled faintly and bowed to them. "It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back." Seeing that Mo Qingyun had returned safely, Xianao immediately laughed and hurriedly called out to Mo Qingyun, "Mo Qingyun, come over quickly and sit next to Ancestor Xianao." "Yes." Mo Qingyun nodded his head and quickly walked to Xianao's side and sat down. Seeing that Mo Qingyun sat next to Xianao, the 3 disciples at the peak of the Pill Palace immediately looked at Mo Qingyun with envy. Of course, when they looked at Mo Qingyun, other than envy, there was even more coldness and hostility in their eyes. In their eyes, This should be the time for them to represent the rolling curtain peak and participate in the Battle of the Peak. However, Mo Qingyun had stolen the limelight. This kind of thing was really unbearable for them. Ancestor Xian'ao, I brought Qingyun here this time because I have something to discuss with all of you. After seeing that Mo Qingyun had sat down, Xianshan did not hesitate and immediately told Xian'ao his intentions. Oh, after hearing this, Xian'ao curiously looked at Mo Qingyun and hurriedly asked Xianshan, "What's the matter?" Hearing Xian'ao's words, Xianshan organized his words and said, Tianhuan's cultivation has improved very quickly during his training outside. He has already reached the peak of the Pill Palace. Therefore, he wants to participate in this year's Battle of the Peak and contribute to the Rolling Curtain Peak. Mo Qingyun's cultivation had reached the peak of the Pill Palace. He also wanted to participate in the Battle of the Peak. Hearing Xianshan's words, Xian'ao and the others were shocked and turned to look at Mo Qingyun. At this moment, they were shocked by Xianshan's words. In just 3 years, Mo Qingyun's cultivation had increased by an entire realm. This kind of cultivation speed could be said to be unprecedented. Oof. A kid who hasn't even grown his hair yet wants to participate in the Battle of the Peak? He's really courting death. In this world, there are always some people who don't know their limits. Only when they suffer will they learn to be obedient. With his cultivation at the 7th level of the Pill Palace, he wants to participate in the Battle of the Peak. He's really overestimating himself. For a moment, the 3 disciples at the peak of the Pill Palace looked at Mo Qingyun with disdain. Ancestor Xian'ao, now I have the qualifications to represent the Rolling Curtain Peak and participate in the Battle of the Peak. Looking at the shocked expressions of Xian'ao and the others, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and asked. At this moment, without waiting for Xian'ao to reply, one of the 3 disciples said with a dissatisfied expression, "Kid, with your cultivation at the 7th level of the Pill Palace realm, you want to represent the Rolling Curtain Peak and participate in the Battle of the Peak? Don't you think you're too arrogant? Sometimes, the level of cultivation on the surface doesn't represent the strength of one's strength." After hearing this person's words, Mo Qingyun turned to glance at him and said indifferently, "Take you, for example. Although you have the cultivation at the peak of the Pill Palace realm, it doesn't mean that your strength is stronger than the 7th level of the Pill Palace. So, you want to fight with me?" Chapter 718. What's the harm in a battle? Hearing the words of a youth, Mo Qingyun slowly stood up. His body emitted a faint battle intent. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, if he wanted to participate in the Battle of the Summit, he had to display some strength. Now that this youth had provoked him, it was a good opportunity for him. As long as he defeated this youth, his strength would definitely be recognized by Xian'ao and the others. Seeing the expressions of Mo Qingyun and Ran Tong, one of the elders pondered and said, "Ancestor Xian'ao, among Wu Sheng, Yang Lei, and Ran Tong, Wu Sheng is the weakest. If Tian Hun can defeat him, how about letting Tian Hun replace Wu Sheng?" Senior Xian Zhang's suggestion is good. I think it's a good idea. I also think that this method is feasible. After all, in the Battle of the Summit, what is competing is one's strength, not one's cultivation. Hearing Xian Zhang's words, the other elders nodded their heads in agreement. Xian Zhang's suggestion is indeed good. Hearing the words of the few people beside him, Xian'ao's face immediately turned solemn. He agreed with Xian Zhang's suggestion. After that, Xian'ao's face turned solemn. He turned his head to look at Mo Qingyun and Rantong and said, "There are only 3 spots for the Battle of the Summit. Tian Hun, if you want to obtain the right to participate, you have to defeat Wu Sheng in this battle." After instructing Mo Qingyun, Xian'ao turned his head to look at Wu Sheng and said in a deep voice, "Wu Sheng, whether you can retain the right to participate in the Battle of the Summit will depend on whether you can defeat Tian Han. Ancestor, don't worry. This disciple will not disappoint you." Hearing Xian'ao's words, Wu Sheng revealed a cold and arrogant expression. He looked at Mo Qingyun with disdain. Wu Sheng, this kid is only at the 7th level of the Pill Palace. Don't lose. Seeing that Mo Qingyun wanted to fight Wu Sheng, Yang Lei, who was holding a folding fan, revealed a gloating smile. In his opinion, the upcoming battle between Mo Qingyun and Wu Sheng was a good opportunity for him to learn more about Mo Qingyun's strength. Brat, follow me outside the small courtyard for a fight, so as to avoid messing up martial ancestor Xianao's place. Seeing that Xianao had tacitly agreed to his battle with Mo Qingyun, Wu Sheng's face revealed a cold expression as he spoke to Mo Qingyun. As soon as Wu Sheng finished speaking, he lightly tapped his feet and leaped into the air, intending to fly away from Xianao's small courtyard. There's no need to be so troublesome. One move is enough to deal with you. Looking at Wu Sheng's actions, Mo Qingyun had an indifferent expression on his face as he said these indifferent words. One move is enough to deal with you. As soon as Mo Qingyun's words left his mouth, the surrounding people's faces were filled with shock. They couldn't believe their ears. Mo Qingyun's words were too arrogant. No matter what, Wu Sheng's cultivation was higher than his by 2 levels. It was more appropriate for Wu Sheng to say these words. Shameless boasting. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wu Sheng immediately snorted coldly. With a gloomy expression, he said angrily, I want to see how you are going to defeat me in one move. Mo Qingyun's words were like a sharp needle, ruthlessly stabbing into his sore spot. With his cultivation at the peak of the Pill Palace, he was actually looked down upon by a brat at the 7th level of the Pill Palace. This was a great humiliation. Soul transformation. Purple snake, shadow palm. After saying these words of anger, Wu Sheng no longer hesitated and directly entered the half-soul transformation state. He raised his hand and blasted out a palm towards Mo Qingyun. A shocking amount of elemental energy exploded from Wu Sheng's hand, turning into a huge snake head that swallowed Mo Qingyun. Not only that, behind Mo Qingyun, there was a huge snake tail sweeping towards him. Seeing Wu Sheng's powerful attack, Yang Lei, who was holding a folding fan, sneered, If I'm not wrong, that brat won't be able to withstand Wu Sheng's palm. I don't think so. I've heard rumors about this Mo Tianan. He shouldn't be so simple. Hearing Yang Lei's words, Rantong's beautiful face tensed up. She shook her head and said, It said that he once defeated Luo Weibai, who was at the peak of the Yuan Dan realm. From the looks of it, it won't be easy for Wu Sheng to defeat him. It's just a rumor. The more it spreads, the more false it becomes. It can't be taken seriously. Hearing Rantong's words, Yang Lei smiled. He didn't take it seriously. Wu Sheng's palm is not simple. I don't know if Tian Hun can withstand it. Seeing Wu Sheng's powerful attack, Xianao looked nervous. Mo Qingyun was sweating in his heart. At this moment, Xianao wasn't the only one who was nervous. Xian Shan and the rest also looked nervous. At this moment, as everyone looked nervous, Mo Qingyun finally made his move. However, Mo Qingyun didn't summon his martial soul like Wu Sheng and enter the half-soul change state. He just casually pointed at Wu Sheng. Mo Qingyun's point was very casual. It was as if he was stretching his arm. There wasn't even any elemental energy fluctuation from his finger. Junior Rantong, it seems like you overestimated Mo Tianan. Seeing Mo Qingyun's move, Yang Lei immediately laughed and said disdainfully, Mo Tianhun can't even use his elemental energy under the pressure of Wu Sheng's aura. It's true that hearing about him is not as good as meeting him in person. He's just a piece of trash. How can this be? Mo Tianhun shouldn't be so weak, right? Seeing Mo Qingyun's performance, Rantong's brows knitted together. A strong feeling of doubt rose in her heart. In her opinion, even if Mo Qingyun couldn't defeat Wu Sheng, he shouldn't be so weak. Bang! At this moment, when everyone was puzzled, a muffled sound was heard. Then, everyone saw Wu Sheng's body being sent flying by a shocking force. At the same time, Wu Sheng's palm strike towards Mo Qingyun was broken apart by itself, and it instantly vanished into thin air. Poof! Wu Sheng was sent flying by Mo Qingyun's finger. He vomited blood and fell to the ground. He couldn't get up for a long time and lost the ability to continue fighting. One finger, Wu Sheng, who was at the peak of the Pill Palace realm, was defeated and lost the ability to fight. Seeing this scene, the surrounding people were immediately shocked, and their minds went blank. How? How can this be? How can he be so strong? Looking at this scene, Yang Lei was shocked. He couldn't believe it. This was because even if he wanted to defeat Wu Sheng, he wouldn't be able to do it as easily as Mo Qingyun. Could it be that Mo Qingyun's strength was higher than his? When this thought arose in his mind, Mo Qingyun's expression turned even uglier. He couldn't accept this reality. He's really not ordinary. Seeing Mo Qingyun defeat Wu Sheng, Ran Tong didn't have much of a reaction. It was as if she had expected this. Then, Ran Tong looked at Mo Qingyun with interest in her eyes. One move. Tian Hun defeated Wu Sheng with only one move? This kid's strength is still as abnormal as before. You can't judge a book by its cover. Junior Xian Shan, you've really taken in a good disciple. Chapter 719. Do you want to fight again? Looking at Wu Sheng, who was lying on the ground, Mo Qingyun asked him with an indifferent expression. I admit defeat. Hearing Mo Qingyun's question, Wu Sheng's face twitched and a strong expression of unwillingness appeared on his face. He had lost. He, Wu Sheng, was at the pinnacle of the Dan Palace realm and was ranked third on the Rolling Curtain Peak. However, he had actually lost to a brat at the 7th level of the Dan Palace realm. This was a heavy blow to him, smashing his pride into smithereens. Even though he didn't want to admit defeat, he had to admit that Mo Qingyun was much stronger than him. Just like in the previous exchange, when Mo Qingyun injured him, he didn't even see Mo Qingyun's attack clearly. In this way, what could he use to battle Mo Qingyun? Sheng, don't be too bothered by this loss. A treasured sword will be sharpened. This loss is a test for you. Looking at Wu Sheng's lonely and dejected expression, Elder Xian Ying's face turned serious as he tried to console him. Thank you for your advice, Master. I understand now. Hearing Elder Xian Ying's words, Wu Sheng revealed a humble expression and nodded towards Elder Xian Ying. Then Wu Sheng endured the pain in his chest and gritted his teeth as he climbed up from the ground. He respectfully walked behind Elder Xian Ying. Seeing that Wu Sheng had recognized him, Xian Ao revealed a faint smile and announced the result. Since the outcome of the battle between Wu Sheng and Tian Hun has been decided, Tian Hun will replace Wu Sheng and participate in the Rolling Curtain Peaks Battle of the Peak. Hearing Xian Ao's words, Wu Sheng's face twitched once again and a trace of disappointment flashed across his eyes. Survival of the fittest was fully displayed at this moment. His strength was no match for Mo Qingyun, and he was mercilessly eliminated. After announcing the results of the battle, Xian Ao smiled faintly as he looked at Mo Qingyun and the other two. He waved at them and said, Tian Hun, Ran Tong, Yang Lei. Whether our Rolling Curtain Peak can enter the Earth Emanation's peak in this year's Battle of the Peaks would depend on your performance. Grandmaster, don't worry. Disciple will do his best. Hearing Xian Ao's words, Mo Qingyun's expression turned serious as he replied to Xian Ao in a deep voice. In Mo Qingyun's mind, he didn't just want a Rolling Curtain Peak to become the Earth Emanation's peak. He also wanted to become the #1 disciple in the Battle of the Peak. Don't speak so loudly. Otherwise, you'll drag everyone down. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yang Lei curled his lips and said disdainfully to Mo Qingyun, So you're saying that you're doubting my strength? Seeing Yang Lei's attitude, Mo Qingyun's face darkened and a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Why don't we fight now? Whoever loses will voluntarily withdraw from the Battle of the Peaks. Anyway, a piece of trash joining in won't be of much use. On the contrary, he'll drag everyone down. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yang Lei's expression immediately became unnatural and he couldn't help but twitch. He really didn't expect Mo Qingyun to be so direct. He had just defeated Wu Sheng and now wanted to challenge him. However, After seeing Mo Qingyun's domineering performance, Yang Lei didn't dare to fight with Mo Qingyun. He believed that if he were to fight with Wu Sheng, he definitely wouldn't be able to defeat Wu Sheng as easily as Mo Qingyun did. Humph! Don't think that you're so great just because you defeated Wu Sheng. Yang Lei was silent for a moment before he coldly snorted and mocked Mo Qingyun. If you really have the ability, you'd better perform well in the Battle of the Peaks. If you don't dare to fight, then so be it. A piece of trash has more excuses than others. Seeing Yang Lei's performance, the mockery in Mo Qingyun's eyes immediately became more intense. In Mo Qingyun's eyes, Yang Lei was even more unbearable than Wu Sheng. At least Wu Sheng wasn't as cowardly as him. You! Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Wu Sheng's face immediately darkened. He coldly snorted and didn't dare to speak. At this moment, although he really wanted to fight with Mo Qingyun, he ultimately restrained himself and didn't dare to rashly fight with Mo Qingyun. He had no choice. If he really lost, he would lose the opportunity to participate in the Battle of the Peaks, just like Wu Sheng. At this moment, seeing that Yang Lei didn't speak, the disappointment in Wu Sheng's heart couldn't help but improve. In his opinion, even Yang Lei didn't dare to fight with Mo Qingyun. He didn't have any complaints about losing this battle. Following this, everyone chatted for a while before returning to their own residences. Junior brother Mo, in the Battle of the Peaks, you have to take care of senior sister. When they walked out of Xian'ao's small courtyard, Ran Tong smiled sweetly at Mo Qingyun and winked seductively. Senior sister, you're too serious. Everyone helps each other. In response to Ran Tong's actions, Mo Qingyun faintly smiled and opened his mouth to reply. Mo Qingyun's character was very simple. Whoever was polite to him, he would be courteous to them. Following this, Mo Qingyun and Ran Tong exchanged a few simple words before returning to their own residences. After returning to his own residence, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately entered He Xian's palace. My cultivation is now at the peak of the mid-stage of the 7th level of the Dan Palace. I hope that before the Battle of the Peaks begins, I can successfully break through to the 8th level of the Dan Palace. After entering He Xian's palace, Missouri Qingyun's face revealed a look of anticipation and immediately entered into cultivation. Following this, Mo Qingyun took out a large amount of elemental holy stones and placed them around his body, preparing to devour and refine them. Door of Devouring. After taking out the elemental holy stones, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately used his martial soul's ability, the Door of Devouring, to devour the elemental energy in the surrounding elemental holy stones. Following this, the elemental energy in the surrounding elemental holy stones turned into thin streams of elemental energy that were violently sucked into the Door of Devouring and transferred into Mo Qingyun's body. Feeling the elemental energy entering his body, Mo Qingyun didn't hesitate and immediately started to refine the elemental energy in his body. As such, the following time passed by as Mo Qingyun cultivated. In the blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. Deity, it's time for the Battle of the Peaks. At this moment, Mo Qingyun, who was in the midst of cultivation, was shocked and immediately exited from his cultivation. In order to prevent his cultivation from delaying his participation in the Battle of the Peaks, Mo Qingyun instructed his incarnation before he cultivated. It's time for the Battle of the Peaks. After exiting from his cultivation, Mo Qingyun revealed a look of pity and sighed. The peak of the 7th level of the Dan Palace, only a step away from the 8th level of the Dan Palace. It's a pity. After feeling a little pity in his heart, Mo Qingyun didn't think too much about it and returned to his room. Following this, Mo Qingyun opened the door and walked out. At this moment, Xianshan was already waiting in the courtyard. Tianhan, you're out. Seeing Mo Qingyun walk out of the room, Xianshan revealed a bright smile and greeted Mo Qingyun. Ancestor Xian'ao is already waiting for us. Let's go over now. All right. Chapter 720. After a short while, Mo Qingyun saw Xian'ao and the others in a pavilion on the rolling curtain peak. Grandmaster Xian'ao, elders, sorry to keep you waiting. Mo Qingyun walked up to Xian'ao and the others and bowed humbly to them. Oomph. You know you've kept us waiting, but you still came so late on purpose. How arrogant. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Yang Lei was displeased and mocked Mo Qingyun. Hearing Yang Lei's words, Mo Qingyun's face darkened and he glanced at him coldly. However, Mo Qingyun did not say anything. After all, it was not the time to quarrel. Yang Lei, shut up. Seeing Yang Lei's behavior, Xian Miao was displeased and scolded him. In Xian Miao's opinion, it was unwise for Yang Lei to fight among himself as the next peak battle. Yes, Grandmaster. Hearing Xian Miao's words, Yang Lei was in awe and immediately shut his mouth. Since everyone is here, let's set off. Seeing Mo Qingyun and Xian Shan arrive, Xian'ao gestured to the others and rushed to the main peak, Dark Ice Peak. Then, Mo Qingyun and the others followed closely behind Xian'ao and went to Dark Ice Peak. An hour later, Mo Qingyun and the others arrived at an enormous training ground. This was the place where the competition for the peak would take place. The trial field was extremely spacious. It was as big as several rolling curtain peak. At this moment, there were many viewing platforms around the trial field. At a glance, Mo Qingyun found that the viewing platforms were different. There was an obvious difference in status. At the top of the northern part of the training field, there was the largest viewing platform. This should be where the palace master of the mysterious ice palace and the others were sitting. Below this huge viewing platform, there were 36 smaller viewing platforms. These should be the viewing platforms for the 36 Big Dipper peaks. Below the 36 Heaven Dipper viewing platforms, there were 72 smaller viewing platforms. These should be the viewing platforms for the 72 Earth Emanations peaks. Compared to the 109 viewing platforms in the north, the viewing platforms in the east and west appeared somewhat small and crude. Mo Qingyun glanced around and roughly estimated that the number of spectator stands in the east and west direction was about 3,000. From the looks of it, these 3,000 smaller viewing platforms were prepared for the 3,000 lower mountain peaks. Even so, if one were to observe carefully, they would be able to see the differences between the 3,000 spectator stands. Among the 3,000 viewing platforms, some could hold dozens of people, some could only hold a few people, and some could only hold one person. From this scene, it could be seen how strict and distinct the difference between the levels of the various mountain peaks in the mysterious ice palace was. At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and the others walked into the training field was already packed with people. The various mountain heads and elders led the disciples of the various mountain peaks to the surrounding spectator stands one after another. Master! At this moment, when Mo Qingyun and the others walked to the viewing platform, a middle-aged man in brocade clothes showed a respectful expression and bowed to Xian'ao as a disciple. Seeing the middle-aged man's action, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly, and some surprise flashed in his eyes. The middle-aged man in brocade clothed cultivation had already reached the quasi-divine state, and he actually called Xian'ao as master. This scene really puzzled Mo Qingyun. If he was really Xian'ao's disciple, why would he be on another peak? Peak Master Song Yejing, you are the peak master of Snowy Night Peak on Big Dipper Peak. This old man does not deserve to be called master. Hearing the middle-aged man in brocade clothes words, Xian'ao's expression turned cold, and he replied in a displeased tone. From the current situation, there seemed to be some story between Xian'ao and this middle-aged man. Seeing Xian'ao's attitude, the person behind Xian'ao's face darkened, and he angrily said to Xian'ao, "Old bastard Xian'ao, our peak master remembers your past kindness. Don't fail to appreciate his kindness. Lai Feng, don't be rude." Hearing the words of the person behind him, Song Yejing's expression turned serious, and he immediately reprimanded him. Then he bowed to Xian'ao and said, "Master, this disciple will take his leave first. If you have any orders, you can tell this disciple at any time. Let's go." Then, Song Yejing led Lai Feng and the rest towards the Big Dipper observation stand in the north. However, when Song Yejing turned to leave, the people behind him had cold looks on their faces, and they swept a glance at Mo, Qingyun, and the rest. "You brats from curtain-lifting peak, you'll have a good time later." At this moment, a quasi-heavenly Dipper realm disciple from Snowy Night Peak said coldly in Mo Qingyun's ear. Hearing this, Mo Qingyun frowned slightly, and his gaze turned colder. However, he did not refute immediately. From Mo Qingyun's point of view, he was not in a hurry to deal with Song Yejing and the rest. It would not be too late to figure out the relationship between Song Yejing and Xian'ao first. After a while, Mo Qingyun realized that the Snowy Night Peak disciples were talking to the Earth Emanations Peak disciples when they passed by the Earth Emanations observation stand. Subsequently, the few Earth Emanations Peak disciples looked at them with gloomy and cold gazes. From the looks of it, these Earth Emanations Peak disciples must have received instructions from the Snowy Night Peak disciples to deal with them. Let's go too. Seeing that Song Yejing had walked far away, Xian'ao did not want to stay any longer. Chapter 721. Subsequently, as Mo Qingyun and Su Lingyue chatted, the other peaks arrived at the training grounds one after another. Seeing that all the peaks had arrived, the middle-aged man sitting in the center of the Mystic Ice Peaks spectator stand stood up with a dignified expression. He was the Mystic Ice Palace's palace master, Ling Kai, a level 2 transcendent realm expert. Since all the peaks are here, let's begin the first round of this year's battle for the peak, the battle for the Earth Emanations Peak. Ling Kai said solemnly before sweeping his gaze towards the spectator stands in the east and west direction. The rules for this year's battle for the Earth Emanations Peak are the same as usual. Any peak that has a Heavenly Dipper realm expert holding down the fort can let their disciples participate in the battle for the Earth Emanations Peak. However, you're not allowed to kill your fellow disciples in the competition. Following that, Ling Kai briefly explained the rules of the battle for the Earth Emanations Peak to everyone. After explaining the rules of the battle for the peak, Ling Kai revealed a solemn expression and said to the 3,000 lower peak disciples in a deep voice, "If that's the case, disciples from all the peaks participating in the battle for the Earth Emanations Peak may enter the training grounds and line up." As Ling Kai's words fell, the disciples from all the peaks participating in the battle for the Earth Emanations Peak flew to the open space of the training grounds. For a moment, the disciples from all the peaks who flew down could not help but feel like a fairy scattering flowers. "Junior brother Mo, let's go down too." Seeing that the disciples from all the peaks had entered the training grounds, Ran Tong smiled sweetly at Mo Qingyun and flew up like a butterfly. Hearing Ran Tong's words, Mo Qingyun nodded and followed Ran Tong into the training grounds. Seeing Ran Tong's actions towards Mo Qingyun, Yang Lei revealed a jealous expression and his gaze turned cold. He, Yang Lei, was the #1 genius of the Rolling Curtain Peak. In this year's battle for the peak, he should have received the attention of everyone in the Rolling Curtain Peak. But now, ever since Mo Qingyun appeared, he had completely become a foil. All the limelight had been stolen by Mo Qingyun. More importantly, Ran Tong, whom he had been pursuing for 5 years, had always been serious towards him. But now, she was full of affection towards Mo Qingyun. This scene was particularly glaring in his eyes, making him feel as if he had been slapped in the face. In next to no time, the spacious area of the training grounds was filled with the disciples of the various peaks that were participating in the competition for the head of Earth Emanations Peak. Due to the competition between the 3,000 low-grade peaks, not every peak had a Heavenly Dipper realm expert. Therefore, the number of disciples who participated in the Earth Emanations Peaks contest was not especially large. There were only about 1,000+ people. Therefore, the number of peaks that were participating in the Earth Fiend Peak struggle was around 500 to 600. Out of the 500 to 600 peaks, it did not seem difficult to obtain 72 Earth emanations peak heads. The probability was about 1 in 8 to 9. However, the real situation was not like this. It was because the people who could become the 72 Earth emanations peak masters were all much stronger than the other 3,000 low-tier Earth emanations peak masters. Therefore, it was not easy to surpass them. In every competition for the head of Earth emanations peak, the number of peaks that were truly replaced was only a few. From this, it could be seen how difficult it was to become the head of Earth emanations peak. Swoosh! At this moment, when the disciples of the various peaks arrived at the training grounds, the sharp cry of a snow eagle could be heard. A white-robed young man was riding on a white eagle of the Pill Palace realm as he slowly flew into the training field. That is Bai Lin, the genius disciple of Snow Eagle Peak. It is said that he is planning to challenge the Heavenly Dipper Peak for Snow Eagle Peak. It is said that Bai Lin once fought with a Heavenly Dipper realm late-stage expert and was undefeated. He can easily defeat dozens of people who are at the peak of Pill Palace realm. If that is the case, it is better for us to stay away from Bai Lin in the upcoming competition for the head of Earth Emanations Peak. Looking at the young man who was standing on the white eagle, the surrounding disciples were filled with reverence as they opened up an empty space for him. Clang! At this moment, when Bai Lin arrived at the training grounds, a huge black sword that was 100 meters long was directly inserted into an empty space in the training grounds. Then, a cold and arrogant young man dressed in black lightly tapped his foot and leaped onto the huge sword, looking down at the disciples of the various peaks below. That is Mingya, the #1 genius disciple of Ice Nether Peak. He once fought with Bai Lin for 3 days without losing. I heard that Mingya grew up in tombs and cultivated a cultivation technique that can refine corpse chi. It is extremely terrifying. It is not a cultivation technique that can refine corpse chi. Mingya has comprehended the power of death and can devour the vitality of others. Seeing the appearance of the black-clothed young man, the surrounding disciples were shocked as they whispered to each other in awe. At this moment, when Mingya and Bai Lin appeared in front of everyone's eyes, crash. Suddenly, the sound of waves was heard. A young girl dressed in blue stepped on the waves and arrived at the center of the training grounds. That is Senior Sister Lu Yu from Cold Moon Peak. It is said that Senior Sister Lu Yu's martial soul is a top-grade 13 Sky Sea martial soul. I heard that Senior Sister Lu Yu was adopted by the Flood Dragon King of the Penglai Sea region when she was cultivating in the deep sea. Not only that, Senior Sister Lu Yu also refined the Flood Dragon blood essence with the help of the Flood Dragon King and became a half-Flood Dragon. The appearance of the young girl in blue caused another round of exclamations. As the disciples of Earth Emanations Peak appeared one by one, the disciples of the lower peaks were constantly shocked. Of course, the commotion caused by the remaining Earth Emanations Peak disciple was not as great as by Lin and the other two. After a while, the disciples of the various peaks arrived at the training grounds and waited for Ling Kai's next instruction. Since all the disciples are here, let's begin the first round of the test, the Snow Cliff. Looking at the disciples of the various peaks in the training grounds, Ling Kai said coldly with a solemn expression. Then, the crowd saw Ling Kai forming hand seals with both of his hands and striking them into the air above the training grounds. Then, in the air above the training grounds, rays of dazzling light exploded and revealed a huge ice stone door. Boom, boom, boom. As the ice stone door appeared, it emitted a loud noise and slowly opened. As the ice stone door opened, a soul-stirring chill spread out from within. The entrance to the ice cliff is open. Quickly enter. Seeing the ice stone door open, Ling Kai's face turned solemn as he urged the crowd, after which Bai Lin no longer hesitated. His figure moved and entered the icy stone door in a flash. Senior Sister Antong, let's go in as well. Seeing the crowd's actions, Mo Qingyun no longer hesitated and followed the crowd into the ice stone door. As Mo Qingyun entered the ice stone door, the scene in front of him changed, and he arrived at a 10,000 feet tall ice cliff. On the opposite side of the cliff was a door of light, which should be the exit to leave this place. However, between the 10,000 feet tall ice cliff and the door of light, there was a 10,000-mile-long chasm. In this chasm, there were countless ice birds and demonic beasts. As for whether Yang Lei lived or died, Mo Qingyun couldn't care less about him. In Mo Qingyun's opinion, even if he called Yang Lei along, the other party might not necessarily give him face. On the contrary, it might even make Yang Lei think that he wanted to borrow Yang Lei's protection. At that time, he would inevitably be ridiculed by Yang Lei. This situation was something that was not willing to see. Yang was Lin, and the other two to the other side of the peak was A. What surprised Mo Qingyun was that when he and Rantong flew toward the other side of the ice cliff, for groups of people quickly surrounded them. Mo Qingyun was not unfamiliar with these four groups of people. They were disciples from Babing Peak, Ocean Tide Peak, Dusk Peak, and Falling Frost Peak. Babing Peak did not need to be mentioned. With the enmity between Mo Qingyun and Roba, it would be strange if they did not come to find trouble with Mo Qingyun. As for Ocean Tide Peak, Dusk Peak, and Falling Frost Peak, Mo Qingyun did not find it strange. They had received instructions from the Snowy Night Peak disciples. The only thing that surprised Mo Qingyun was that the strength of Ocean Tide Peak, Dusk Peak, and Falling Frost Peak was not low among the 72 Earth Emanations peaks. Ocean Tide Peak was ranked 9th, Dusk Peak was ranked 13th, and Falling Frost Peak was ranked 27th. They were all powerful Earth Emanations peaks within the top 30. From this, it could be seen that the strength of the 9 disciples of these 3 peaks was not weak. Seeing the disciples of the 4 peaks surrounding Mo Qingyun and Rantong, the surrounding disciples were surprised and turned to look at Mo Qingyun. Isn't that the genius disciple of Ocean Tide Peak, Lin Mang? Looking at his current actions, it seems that he is going to attack the 2 disciples of Rolling Curtain Peak. Not only Ocean Tide Peak's Lin Mang, but also Dusk Peak's Zhao Li and Falling Frost Peak's Xie Yong. They are also going to deal with the 2 from Rolling Curtain Peak. It seems that the 2 disciples from Rolling Curtain Peak are finished. Combined with the combat strength of Lin Mang and the other 2, even a Heaven Star border expert would have to avoid them. These 2 are really pitiful. It seems that they're going to be a pair of lovebirds. This is the greatest consolation before death. For a moment, the disciples of the various peaks showed sympathetic expressions and felt sorry for Mo Qingyun and Rantong. While the crowd was feeling sorry for Mo Qingyun and Rantong, a person not far away showed a gloating smile and said, Mo Tianan, now you are facing the siege of the disciples of Babing Peak, Ocean Tide Peak, Dusk Peak, and Falling Frost Peak. Next, I want to see how you will die. At this moment, the gloating person was naturally Yang Lei. Chapter 723. Today, the few of you will stay behind. Hearing Mo Qingyun's words, Lin Mang and the rest were stunned. Their faces were filled with shock as they thought that they had heard wrongly. This brat in the 7th level of the Pill Palace actually wanted to kill all of them? Wasn't his tone a little too arrogant? Ha! After a brief moment of shock, Lin Mang and the rest burst out into laughter. Their eyes were filled with disdain. Did you all hear that? This brat just said that he wants to kill all of us today. You don't say this brat is really good at bragging. I was almost fooled by him. Seniors, you don't have to do anything. Let me teach him a lesson first. In an instant, all sorts of mocking words came out from the mouths of Lin Mang and the rest. He really doesn't know his place. A brat in the 7th level of the Pill Palace actually wants to deal with Lin Mang and the rest. Looking at Mo Qingyun's performance, Yang Lei sneered. Disdain for Mo Qingyun rose in his heart. He didn't believe that with Mo Qingyun's cultivation, he would be a match for Lin Mang and the rest. Hearing the words of the youth beside him, Luo Shilin sneered and said, Since that's the case, Luo can. go teach that brat a lesson. Remember, don't kill him directly. Hearing Luo Xilin's order, Lin Meng, Zhao Li, and Xie Yong sneered. They weren't in a hurry to make a move on Mo Qingyun. In their eyes, a brat in the 7th level of the Pill Palace wasn't qualified for them to make a move. Following which, Luo Qin from Babing Peak sneered and walked towards Mo Qingyun step by step. He sneered, "Brat, do you still remember Luo Weibai?" Luo Weibai? Mo Qingyun's expression froze for a moment. After pondering for a moment, he smiled faintly. "So you're saying that you're planning to take revenge for him?" With Mo Qingyun's eyesight, he could naturally see through Luo Qin's thoughts. "You are quite self-aware." Seeing that Mo Qingyun had guessed his thoughts, Luo Qin narrowed his eyes slightly. He looked at Mo Qingyun and said in a cold voice, "Luo Weibai is my second brother. Today, I will make him pay back twice for the harm you caused him last time." Luo Qin, no matter what, you are still someone at the pinnacle of the Pill Palace. Don't you feel embarrassed making a move against someone at the 7th level of the Pill Palace? Seeing that Luo Qin wanted to make a move on Mo Qingyun, Rantong revealed an indignant expression and said some words of dissatisfaction to Luo Qin. Seeing Rantong's actions, Mo Qingyun's expression changed slightly. He was touched. At this moment, Rantong was still willing to stand up for him. It was really too rare. Thinking back to Yang Lei's actions, Mo Qingyun couldn't help but shake his head. The difference between the two of them was too big. Following that, Mo Qingyun revealed a faint smile and said to Rantong, "Senior sister Rantong, you don't have to worry about me. He can't do anything to me." Chapter 724. On the surface, Mo Qingyun's cultivation was only at the peak of the 7th level of the Dan Palace realm. However, he had 8 more Dan Palaces than others. Now, the total amount of origin energy in his 9 Dan Palaces was comparable to a Heaven Dipper Stage 1 expert. As such, how could Luo Qin withstand his palm strike? If Mo Qingyun could kill Luo Qin directly, he wouldn't have been sent flying. He would have been smashed into meat paste. How is this possible? How is this kid so strong? Yang Lei was horrified when he saw Luo Qin, who was slightly stronger than him, being sent flying by Mo Qingyun. He didn't expect Mo Qingyun's strength to be so terrifying that he couldn't withstand it. At this moment, Yang Lei realized that Mo Qingyun didn't use his full strength when he fought with Wu Sheng. He sent Luo Qin flying with a single palm strike. This kid is really not simple. Luo Xilin's face twitched when he saw Luo Qin being sent flying by Mo Qingyun. His eyes were filled with fear. Although he was stronger than Luo Qin, if he wanted to defeat Luo Qin, he absolutely could not do it as easily as Mo Qingyun. It seems like junior brother Luo Nungping, and I won't be able to deal with this kid. Luo Xilin thought to himself. He looked at Lin Meng and the rest and said, "Senior brothers, this kid is a little strange. Why don't we deal with him together? Although he has some skills, he's not worth our effort." Lin Meng shook his head in disdain when he heard Luo Xilin's suggestion. He said to a young man beside him, "Junior brother Lin Jiang, you and Luo Xilin play with that kid. Remember not to kill him instantly. Junior brother Zhao Shang, you go too. Junior brother Xiefeng, you go too." After Lin Meng finished speaking, Zhao Li and Xie Yong also gave instructions to a young man beside them. Yes, Lin Jiang, Zhao Shang, and Xiefeng all revealed respectful expressions when they heard this. Together with Luo Xilin, they surrounded Mo Qingyun. Seeing the Ocean Tide Peak, Dusk Peak, and Falling Frost Peak each send out a disciple, Luo Xilin's complexion turned for the better, and the confidence in his heart increased greatly. In Luo Xilin's opinion, the 5 of them were all stronger than Mo Qingyun. If they worked together, they would definitely be able to take him down. Mo Tianhan, junior brother Luo, Qin underestimated his opponent just now and allowed you to launch a sneak attack. It won't be so easy now. Seeing that the 5 of them had surrounded Mo Qingyun, Luo Xilin revealed a smug smile. With a sinister expression, he said, "Later, I will make you into bait and let the demonic beast slowly devour your body. I will let you feel the pain of your flesh being torn apart." Underestimating the enemy? When he heard Luo Shilin's words, Mo Qingyun looked at him with disdain. His eyes were filled with mockery as he said, "If that's the case, the five of you must attack with all your might this time."